going to introduce Steve Merlo. He is a Canadian filmmaker, musician from Kelowna, British Columbia. Let's switch on over. Let's see. Hopefully this all works out well. It did. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you for having me.
Can you guys hear him okay?
Yeah, see and hear me okay? Everybody can see and hear me?
Yes, we can. Perfect. Thank you, Dylan, for the resub for 10 months. Mwah, I definitely appreciate it. Sound is good. Glad. Seriously, Mayhem. Mwah, thank you for that host. Zach, mwah, thank you for that host. I appreciate it. So, Steve, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Like you said, I'm a Canadian indie filmmaker. I've been doing that for about the last eight or so years. And been a professional musician for over 20 years, so definitely have a lot of experience with the music, but indie filmmaking has been kind of a passion of mine, and I've just kind of started really getting into it, and here I am making a Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan film. Really excited to be doing that because it's been a kind of a passionate idea of mine for a long time, ever since the remake came out, actually. So I've always kind of wanted to do this. And here I am. I'm really excited to be doing it. We're doing pretty well in our crowdfunding campaign, and we just want to keep pushing and hopefully get to film this in Texas.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I was reading the Indiegogo that different things that you guys were trying to get done. If you guys do !guest in the chat, it'll pull up all the information. As of right now, this film is still in the Indiegogo phase. They are, you guys are already reached a third goal? How many goals have you reached already on this Indiegogo?
Well, we've hit two of our goals that we give freebies to backers to. Right. We're at a third of our production goal right now. Actually, we would be about half, because we did another Indiegogo and we raised about a good chunk for that as well, about $4,000 to $5,000 on that one. So we've actually raised about half of what we need to get this filmed in Texas at this point.
That's great. Yeah. As I know, you guys reached 100 backers, and then that came out with some free stuff, little free perks that you give. If anybody is interested in backing this film, take a look at the links. They're all in there. As you can see, the tinyurl.com is TMSGo. That's the Indiegogo page if you want to check that out. Are the perks worldwide in your Indiegogo?
Yes, they are actually. Yes, there are shipping fees outside of North America, but yeah, they are worldwide.
Awesome. I know myself, and there's a few others that are pretty big supporters of independent films. Hi, Jake. Hi, Monkey. Good morning. SSJ, hello. Thank you for the host. If you're just joining us, this is our special guest, Steve Merlo, filmmaker, director, writer, musician. They are trying to get going the Sawyer Massacre film, which is a Texas Chainsaw fan film. So we're just getting into that. Stop it, Fusa. My cat always likes
pets, eh?
Oh, my Lord. Yes. How did you get started in the industry?
You know, I was a writer. I was always I used to write short stories, I guess you could say, back when I was in my late teens and early 20s. And so I always had that creative mind to just write stuff. And a long time ago, I wrote this short story. I mean, I don't know if you'd call it a short story, because it was about 30 pages long or something, but it was a mafia kind of story, kind of like The Godfather. I was really big into The Godfather when I was younger. I still love The Godfather. It's still one of my all-time favorites. But I wrote this story, and I kept thinking, geez, I bet I could turn this into a movie. Unfortunately, that never happened. Maybe someday, though. I think I'd like to go back to that if I can actually find. I actually wrote it on paper. I didn't have computers back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
No,
I was late to get to technology too. I was always late. The first screenplay I ever wrote, I actually wrote on I think Word document or Notepad or something like that. I didn't even use screenwriting software, so that was my first computer experience with screenwriting. But yeah, I just always had that creative bug to write. And eventually enough people in my local area that are in the film industry said, why don't you just try adapting a screenplay and, or taking your screenplay and making it yourself and just go through the ropes. And, enough people helped me on it, made some major mistakes early on, and that's okay. Of course, you're going to make mistakes. I never went to film school or anything like that. I don't have $50K to drop on film school. So,
Yeah.
I just worked with some good people and some not so good people. You kind of have to sift through the people that that are going to be there, but at the same time, not everybody's going to be as helpful as you think they're going to be, and
Right.
and that's just part of the industry. You end up finding out who you like to work with and who you don't like to work with, and got to the point in 2016 I made a short film that ended up winning a few awards in 2017. Nothing major, but it was cool to have that recognition. So I was really starting to hone in my craft about that time.
Right.
And I adapted that short film into a feature-length screenplay, and hopefully I'll get to make that pretty soon, because that would be a really cool idea once I get there. But enough people were saying, you've got that Texas Chainsaw Massacre idea. Why don't you work on that? And the fan films are really, really huge right now, which they are. They're massive right now. This is the time
They really
to jump
are.
on a fan film. I've had the idea for a very, very, very long time. So I thought, okay, if I can get the screenplay where I want it to be, which was tough, it was really, really tough. It went through a lot of different drafts, and I was just never satisfied with it. I felt like it was missing that a certain element that would make it more disturbing than it was, and I finally kind of figured out how to do it. Again, I don't want to give any spoilers, but it took a lot of consulting. We'll just say that I consulted a lot of fellow screenwriters, filmmakers, just to get that screenplay where I was happy with it, and where I would be willing to say, okay, let's make this film. And here we are now. I'm happy with it now. It took a long time, but I am finally happy with that screenplay. And we want to make a scary, scary, scary film for you guys in Texas. We want to do it in Texas, not Canada,
Right.
and not Bulgaria either.
Bulgaria, yeah.
I don't know if you know, that's where they're making all the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre films.
It seems to be they like to move outside of North America because of the fees that are associated with it.
It is a money thing. I know that. I don't know all the details on that, but I know it's money. It has to do with money. So that's always the bottom line when it comes to Hollywood films. But me, I'm just a passionate filmmaker that wants to be as authentic as possible. So money is not a thing for me. I just want to make it authentic. So if I can shoot it in Texas, I will.
Oh, sure, right? I mean, many movies are shot here in Canada. One moment, 8-Bit and Hundar, hello. Dahi, hello. Thank you guys for all of the host and love. How the questions are going to work is this. If you guys want to ask a question, do the /me. It'll change it to your color. I will copy and paste that message and put it into my notepad, and I will ask them. So you don't have to repeat the question. I will ask Steve as we get down to it. And since my Patreon members have questions as well, so we're going to hit the Patreon questions and then everyone else's questions right afterwards. I hope everyone's having a good morning. Okay.
I know I am.
I know I got my coffee ready and on my way and doing all that stuff.
That's all you need. Yeah.
Monkey, I have that written down. I've got that written down. Faceless, how are you? I hope everyone's... Luna Hex, welcome to the crypt, by the way. Thank you for the follow. Now, Steve, I do understand how hard it is with current pandemics and everything like that to get filming done. And Regal had a question for you in that area. Is like, what challenges have you already faced while trying to get this movie going? And how did you prepare for the challenges with the actors and actresses?
Good question. It's not been easy with the pandemic, that's for sure, and it's still very, very unpredictable. We shot our first promo trailer before the pandemic started, so that was an issue back then. However, when we did some new footage for our new teaser, that we shot in Texas, and Texas was really under strict regulations for filmmaking due to COVID. That proved to be a bit of a challenge. The cast, though, was very, very cooperative. One of our cast members actually went out and didn't charge me for it. He went out and paid to get the COVID compliance, to become a COVID compliance officer. He went and did that himself just so that he could be our COVID compliance officer and we could be under the proper regulations. And he made sure that there was everything on set that needed to be on set. And I feel like I've been pretty lucky that everybody I've worked with has been super cooperative and made it as easy as possible, but it's still a bit of a challenge. At the end of the day, I did still have to pay for all the supplies needed for COVID, all the hand sanitizer, wipes, and all that kind of stuff that comes with it, the testing kits and all that kind of stuff. It does add up a little bit, but we managed to save money as much as we possibly could, and I appreciate all of the cast and crew donating their time to me. That was just that's something I never expect, but was happy enough that they actually did and made the cost of shooting that footage in Texas a lot cheaper than it probably should have been.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
and at least now that our actor Michael Vincent Barry has that COVID compliance, if that's needed when we actually do shoot in Texas, which we're planning to do in September, at least we have that now. He has that now. We don't have to go out and pay a COVID compliance officer, which, by the way, they charge something like $400 a day.
oh, wow.
It's not cheap. Hopefully we don't need that by then. At the end of the day, the travel regulations are going to be another issue that we have to deal with. And honestly, if I can't travel to Texas, then that's going to make things difficult. We might end up pushing it until travel is permitted. Those are some of the obstacles we have to deal with. If we have to push it, we will push it. We don't want to push it, but I'd like to just hit that mid-September production date. But at the end of the day, I don't want to rush it. I want to give the fans what they want. And if we can't hit the mid-September production date, I don't think that the backers are going to be too upset. At least I don't think so. I'll email everyone anyways, just to get their consensus. But I don't think they'll be too upset if we push it until it's more safe to film. Safety is key.
It is.
Got to look out for my casting crew.
Oh, for sure. And with today's, with everything going on today, who knows when you're going to be able to travel. Or I know Texas is fully open at the moment, but that can change.
At the moment, but
at the moment.
Could change. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And when you were saying earlier about fan-made films, this is the time to get into them. There's lots of people. I've actually, last month we watched a family, and it's a family, use their cell phone, an iPhone, to create a Halloween movie. Fan-made, obviously.
Isn't that awesome?
It's amazing. And it's so nice to see people just creating, because that's I miss good films that aren't taken over by Hollywood. Because, big backers like New Line Cinema, they always have a say, right? You can't do this, you can't do that. So seeing independent films being made and creating and having the creative ability that they have all their own and not having to worry about a studio saying, no, you can't put that in there.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to have that. Oh, no, that's too scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or who knows what this, most of these films are made by the studio, not so much the director or writer. They're, it's too bad that it's gone that far. It rarely happens for a screenwriter that they submit their screenplay for the film and it's exactly as they wanted. It's exactly, they made the film exactly like the screenplay. It never happens. It's always rewrites. There's always too many hands in the pot, too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yep, I completely agree. Wes Craven, Carpenter, they always have issues with the studios wanting to chop out really good stuff.
I know.
Toby had some difficulties as well because he was also battling the MPAA for his film Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He had lots of issues with that on top of the studio themselves.
Yeah, no kidding.
I would assume that with independent films that you guys don't have to really worry about the MPAA.
I don't think so. I haven't never actually dealt with them yet, so we'll see. But again, it being a fan film,
Right.
I don't think we'll have to worry about that. But if we, I mean, it depends on if we want to get it rated a certain way, or I mean, I would hope we could get an R rating for this.
Oh
I would
yeah.
I would
Yeah.
hope. I hope it wouldn't be an NC-17 or whatever they have now. Is it
Yeah.
still NC-17 or is that gone now? I can't remember.
I don't know. It's been so long since I've even seen a movie in a movie theater. I don't
Yeah,
even
I know.
remember anymore what the ratings are. I know they have their
Yeah,
PG and PG-13. I'm pretty sure they might still have the NC-17. But movies
probably.
made within North America are severely butchered because the outside of North America films, if you watch films in Korea, China, Japan, anywhere else, their films are really off the hook with their gore. In
Yeah.
North America, they chop it out. It can't be too violent. You can't have that. Meanwhile, you've got action heroes, turning people inside out and crushing them. But God forbid you have a
Yeah.
guy running around with a chainsaw.
Yeah, no kidding. We'll see what happens. Again, it's not a. I don't think that's a big concern for me because again, we know our film's not going to be shown in
Right.
theaters. So I mean, it's yeah. We don't. I don't think it's going to be an issue for us being a fan film. I mean, it'll be an issue for future
Right.
projects I work on probably, but we'll see. I am kind of more of a suggested violence kind of guy rather than show everything on the
Right.
screen. So
Well, Toby
I
did the same thing with TCM, right? He
yeah,
he made
it
sure that
works.
you didn't see a majority of the gore. The sound of
Mhm.
the chainsaw and the screams were able to give your own creative imagination a scarier view than what you would have seen on on the movie theater, right? So
Very
he did the
true.
same thing, which is awesome because my imagination is far worse, like crazy stuff compared to what you can put on the screen.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You let your imagination run wild. That's for sure. That's leave it all up to your imagination and let the performances of the actors tell it too.
Yeah.
Sometimes just a simple facial expression of horror is enough to say everything. You
Yes.
can say everything without saying anything. That's what I love the power to be able to do that.
Yeah, and that's great. And Romero did it in Night of the Living Dead, '68, right? The scene with the
Yep.
mother and daughter downstairs in the cellar. You don't actually see the murder. I mean, you do see the shadow. You hear the screams. You hear the eerie music, but you can just imagine what's really going on over there.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's a great technique to do.
Oh, definitely.
Now, I was doing my research on you, and I found that you had two basically shorts previously that you did. One was The Unseen.
Yes, that was the one I was talking about earlier. That won
Oh,
a few awards.
right. Okay, so Unseen. And that's really good. Congratulations on winning those awards.
Oh, thank you. They're nothing too much. They're just
Still,
smaller festivals.
yeah, that's still a big accomplishment. Some people don't even get that far. So that's awesome.
That's true.
Is there
Thanks.
anywhere we can watch Unseen? Is it out
Yeah,
on
Unseen is on my YouTube channel. Um,
Perfect?
but again, I've adapted a feature length screenplay that fleshes it out a little bit more. I always
Right.
kind of felt like, for me, anyways, the short didn't quite. We weren't able to execute all the subtleties of the character and the motives and stuff like that. Um, in the short. So a lot of it can be easily missed. Some people will see it if
Right.
they're really paying attention to the beginning, but a lot of people watch Unseen and they miss the whole point, the whole motive of the killer because it feels rushed. I guess you could say it's there,
Right.
but it feels a bit rushed because you know we actually the original cut was something like 16 minutes for Unseen. We cut it down to 12. I kind of wish we didn't cut it down to 12 because it needs room to breathe. We cut it down to 12 for one specific festival that we entered it in, which it didn't even win anything in that festival. But the time limit was 12 minutes, so we cut it down to 12 minutes for that festival only. And I kind of wish we hadn't now. The more I look at it and I look at the original cut that we had, it needed to be at least 16 minutes. We shot enough footage for it to be a good 16-minute film and have that let the atmosphere build up. But again, I think it needs a feature-length film anyway. So I hope that to be my next project after the Sawyer Massacre.
Nice. Well, we'll definitely keep an eye out for that. iRock here is saying that Unseen was fire. So.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. I'm glad you liked it.
There's also, now I know there's another short that you did called First Annual Barbecue, which is now being fleshed out into the Sawyer Massacre. Is that correct?
You could say that. That was my first attempt at filmmaking altogether.
Oh, wow.
I guess you could say the character names in First Annual Barbecue are more or less the same, but the characters are way different from First Annual Barbecue than they are in the Sawyer Massacre. But yeah, it's that was my first short film. It's there's a lot of mistakes we made doing. I mean, I got to take it because I was the new filmmaker. I was the director behind it, and didn't know how to record audio properly, and we didn't really have a cinematographer to really capture the shots the way we wanted. Although there were some great shots, and actually we ended up reusing some of those shots for our teaser. Some of the shots you see in our new teaser were actually from First Annual Barbecue. That just happened to be really great shots that worked well for a teaser.
Right.
But the movie overall, it has a lot of issues. But sometimes I could go back to that. I can look at that film and say, okay, there's something fun about it still. There, even though it has so many issues, I can look at it and say, boy, there is some fun to be had with it.
Well, yeah, and it gets your feet wet, right? We all have to start somewhere.
Oh yeah, exactly. That was 8 years ago, and it was fun. It was just me having fun. Not quite getting to where I am today, obviously, and probably wasn't ready to do. I know I didn't capture what I had in my head, and that's okay. Again, you just got to start somewhere, and it was a starting point. And I can still look at that film and have a good time with it, even though I can see so many flaws in it. And you look and you see how much you've grown as a filmmaker too. You're at least I'm going up. Some filmmakers, they start here and they go down, and yeah, it's so at least I can say that I've always progressed as a filmmaker.
Yeah, well, it's always good to have something to where you started from, because there are days where you're feeling a little disheartened with the way things are going, and you go back and take a look at where you've progressed. I know for myself and the content that I create, Coffee Chat of Horrors was never this organized back in the day. Like when I first started, the show was very up in the air. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. And I utilized that for giving myself that feeling of I've accomplished something so far, from where we started to where we are now. I always think it's a good thing to keep our past starts as a way of giving us motivation towards the future.
That's true. Very, very true. Yeah, I'm hoping I can get. I actually want to get First Annual Barbecue back on YouTube at some point. I know there's a really, really short version of it on YouTube.
Yes.
I think it was from the very first film shoot we did. We didn't have all the characters involved and all that kind of stuff, but there is a 30-minute version that we did that's not on YouTube as far as I can tell. I have it somewhere on a USB drive, so if I can find that, I'll put it on YouTube. But I think there is still that short version somewhere on YouTube.
There is. I know when I was researching, I found some short stuff, really shorts, and I was watching them as I was going along. So there is a few on your actual YouTube channel, which I posted. If you guys want to do exclamation point guest, all the information there, their Twitter, all of the good stuff. Instagram is on there as well, and you guys can check it out. we will be looking at the trailers. We have 2 trailers for the upcoming The Sawyer Massacre. So we're going to be taking a look at that here in a few moments.
Awesome.
Hold on to that. Dahi, it says you can't use it. Everybody can use it.
Use what?
My command. I have a command that everybody can use, which is weird because it's not working. All right.
Oh, no.
Dahi, can you do it for me again, please? Can you try it again? Miss Machiavelli, good morning. How are you? Try that for me again there, Dahi. Exclamation point. Get there. I don't know what the hell's going on. Twitch, I tell you. Now, so we can find a lot of these shorts and teasers and things like that on your YouTube channel?
Some of them, like Unseen, is on my YouTube channel, as well as I think we have two teaser trailers for Unseen on the YouTube channel as well. I don't think there's anything else though that are on mine. Like even the first annual barbecue that you would find, which is like a 9-minute version. I think that's on an Okanagan indie filmmaking channel somewhere.
Yeah,
I've seen it. It's been a while.
Through Googling. Yeah. I think I found it through Googling. Because when I was typing in and trying to, research, and I always like to look in on our guests, and so I know a little bit about you, and I'm not like sitting here not knowing anything. So those did pop up. Unseen popped up, and now Unseen was your second. Is that your second film, a second short that you created? So for first annual barbecue and then Unseen, or was there like a?
No, actually, I made a feature right after I did first annual barbecue, which I was probably not ready to make a feature. Again, we made it though. We did make it. It's been in post-production hell though, unfortunately. Again, we weren't quite prepared enough. I wasn't quite prepared enough. Audio was the biggest thing, and again, we didn't really have a lot of money to make that feature. It's a very different feature than what the rest of my stuff. It's actually I would call it a drama. I guess you could say a drama / love story, which you would never expect from me. I mean, I made first annual barbecue, and then I remember when I was casting for this one, half the people that audition are like, when do people get chopped up in this movie? Like, well, I know I decided to go a big left turn for this one. And it's funny enough, after I made this film, and a lot of people really like the script that I wrote for that film. It's called Follow Your Heart, by the way. There's a teaser, there's a trailer, maybe 2 trailers on my YouTube channel for that one, actually. I believe so. Go check it out, make sure. But
yeah,
but I believe we have at least 1, maybe two trailers for Follow Your Heart on my YouTube channel. And again, it's a love story. Again, the problem we had was the audio was not up to par. And for a lot of it, we used 2 different cameras that didn't match up. It was a pretty rushed. It was, I don't want to say it's a rush production, but it kind of is in a way that we just, I wasn't fully prepared for everything. It was very ambitious. Again, we tried to make this film for under 10,000 Canadian.
Right. And
we had about 25 to 30 locations we had to film at. We had a cast of about 30 people. Thinking back on it now, like, geez, I can't believe we pulled off what we pulled off. It's unheard of.
Right.
But we did. We somehow got it made. It's just I haven't released it because it's been a post-production nightmare. I've been trying my best to get the sound a little bit better, and it's still not quite there. And that was like 6 years ago now. But again, learning experience, big learning experience, and I hope I can release it someday to some degree. I know it's about a 2-hour film though. It's a pretty long film, and I was glad we did it. Still, I still look at it and say, yeah, it was. I'll never make that money back if we self-funded it, and that's okay. But geez, it felt like. It was tough post-production. It felt great when we were done filming it,
Right.
It's like, wow, we got this in the can, and then post-production came, and the cuts were going together pretty well. Like, it was well shot, but we had a few issues with big issues with sound. I really wish I had money for a sound guy on the set, but we didn't, and it's just the way she goes. And there's a couple other little issues. There's some acting issues here and there, and yeah, some makeup issues on one of the characters. Didn't have a good. We hired a cheap makeup artist to make one of the characters look older, and she did a terrible job making him look older. And you know,
Yeah.
it's
Well, but those things happen
learning
when you're
experience.
just exactly learning experience, right? Where would you be if everything always went perfect, right?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, you gotta make mistakes to get better. It's yeah. Nobody starts in the industry being perfect at it,
No?
especially when you've never been to film school or anything like that. When you're just jumping in, you're learning as you go. It's the way it is. You're gonna learn as you go. You're gonna make the mistakes, and as long as the mistakes don't get you down, you're going to
Right.
excel from those mistakes. And that's, I think, Unseen was the first film I did, which I did it. I helped out on a couple other films after Follow Your Heart, but then I did Unseen in 2016, and that was the first one I felt like I more or less got what I wanted. I can still even look back at that one though and say, geez, I wish I knew how to mix audio a little bit better
Right.
back then, because now I've really dialed in being an audio mixer, as you can hear with the trailers that we have now
Mhm.
for the Sawyer Massacre. The audio for Unseen could have been better had I just knew a little bit more stuff than I do now.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that a lot of the independent writers and directors that I do speak to, they always say the same thing: audio. They always have
Yep.
audio issues. I have audio
Oh
issues.
yeah.
I hate audio.
Yeah, it's underlooked. It's definitely a very, very underlooked thing. And I did underlook it for those first two films that I made. I underlooked the audio, thinking it's not a big deal. It's nobody's going to care that much about the audio. And then after I did Follow Your Heart, and I was showing stuff to people and in the industry, and they're like, audio is automatically not gonna sell this film. Audio is 70% of your technical, rather than visual. It's like 70-30. People want better audio than they want visual, because and it's sort of in your head too. You don't realize how important audio is, but you think about it. If you watch a film that's got great visuals but terrible audio, you're going to be put out of that film. You're not going to be able.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to watch it. If it's got bad audio, you're not going to want to watch it. However, if it's the other way around, say you've got like the quality of my film right now, which is like not even like my webcam is not even standard definition, but you hear my audio. Hey,
Yeah.
it actually makes this podcast, looking at me and hearing this podcast right now, it still makes it pretty enjoyable. It can, chances are you'll want to watch it,
Well,
and
yeah.
hopefully people are watching right now.
Yeah.
Because that's how important audio is.
Yes, audio is very important, even in our field. Like I tell new content creators, people who are on YouTube and Twitch and all that, that your audio is number one. Visuals are your second, but your audio, if your voice and you sound tingy and pingy and it's screechy, people are not going to do it because the hearing is sensitive. Hearing is sensitive. Visual is
Very.
not as sensitive as your hearing, so audio is really, it's very, very important. And I'm glad to hear you say that, because I say that to many people in the content creation industry. They ask me what's the most important thing. I'm like, audio, and then your internet and visuals.
Yeah, I had to learn that the hard way, and I'm glad I did learn it the hard way though,
Yeah,
because it made me work harder.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gamer Sense, I agree with you. You feel the same way with games. Visuals are only a small part of the whole thing. You got to have a good story. You got to have a good audio. I agree. I agree.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, a story comes first, in my opinion. You have to have a great story. However, here's another thing I'll say about that. You have to have good actors to tell that story.
Yes.
Because I've seen some independent films that had great stories behind. I could tell it was great stories, but the actors didn't convey it well enough. You could tell they had low budget actors, and they just, I felt like, boy, if somebody remade this into something with better acting, chances are it's gonna be a pretty good film. But I've also seen movies that didn't have the best story, but the actors conveyed it very, very well, and made it more enjoyable for that. So. I think the actors and the story kind of go hand in hand a little bit too. So very important to have the best actors you possibly can to tell that story.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm a big fan of B grade, C grade films, so sometimes the acting isn't as on par as it should be,
Oh yeah.
But I do like
But it
them.
works for those ones, right? I mean, it's
Exactly, it works.
again, you want the acting to match the story a little bit.
Right.
That's what I feel. If a movie's meant to be campy and stuff like that, then the bad acting actually works in its favor.
Yeah.
Funny how that works, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. It's funny how that does work. And if it's a good film and the actors aren't as up to par as the film actually is, yeah, I can see that ruining the whole experience.
Yeah, and that was just another issue we had with Follow Your Heart. Again, the script was, a lot of people loved the script. In fact, it was a runner-up in a contest, a script writing contest here in Canada. The script was,
Ooh.
and I had consulted with the company and everything. They had me consult, and they ultimately chose another script, the other script that was in contention, because they knew that mine would be too expensive to make. It was because the films had to be shot for 10K. They had to be shot for they had to be simplistic.
Right.
And as much as they loved my story, they just felt like it was way too ambitious for 10K, and it actually was, because I actually tried making it for 10K. And we have issues, It was definitely very ambitious, but I think part of it though was the actors. All the actors worked for free, and in some areas we got really lucky with the actors and they did a great job, but in other areas it was like, geez, I wish we had a better actor for this role. And that comes with the territory. When people are working for free, you're not always going to get the best results. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes not.
Yeah, sometimes you do get lucky. I know I talk with a lot of different independent creators, and a lot of the people do this because they're a fan of the horror industry, and others do get paid, but for the most part, they're willing to do it, and just because they want to see this film made, and eventually, hopefully down the road, something bigger will happen where they could get paid.
Exactly.
I had the same conversation with Vincent DeSanti, who does Never Hike Alone and Never Hike in the Snow, and he said the same thing. And there's people that they just volunteer altogether. There's a few fan-made films that we watch here. We watch them monthly, and when I read up about them or whatever, they say the same thing. A lot of people just volunteer their time, and they are very lucky for that.
Yeah, it definitely helps for sure with budget. I mean, I don't like not paying people, but
yeah.
When you don't have budget, and obviously, I mean, these are low budget films, so making a film for 10K is, I'm sure 10K sounds like a lot, but when you
really
actually get
isn't.
down to it, paying people was not an option on that film. Everybody that worked on that film worked for free. Worked for food, I should say. Everybody we had food on this. It's the one thing you have to have. You have to have food. But other than that, though, it's amazing. They'll work for free. They'll work for free. I don't like not paying people, but when you don't have the money that you want to have, then that's the way she goes. I was lucky enough to save money in other areas too. Insurance, I was able to tack that on to my business insurance, and I probably paid maybe an extra $10 a month for insurance because of that. So I mean, if you're creative, you can find ways to save money.
And there's so much more that goes into it. It's not just hiring actors and makeup effects. You have to have insurance. You have to have a whole bunch of different things on top of that just to get going.
Yeah. I have heard that a lot of indie filmmakers don't get the insurance, though. You should, at least liability. I've
Yeah,
never
God
gone
forbid.
without at least 2 million liability. I've never gone without that. So,
Yeah, I mean, I would
but a lot of them
someone got
do.
hurt. Yeah, I mean, I that's something I would not want to like not get, because if someone was to get hurt, and whether they to lose their life or a body part, then that's on you. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not a good thing. Insurance, I always, you always get insurance. Most of the time, you never friggin' use it.
Yeah. Oh
It's
yeah.
a good thing.
I've never had to use it, but there was times where I thought, geez, I might actually need my insurance here. And actually, believe it or not, it wasn't making a horror. It was making that follow your heart. There was one location we shot at that was more dangerous than I had realized it was going to be.
Oh
And we were
no.
carrying gear up this mountain and it was. Yeah, I thought for sure I'm going to have an insurance claim here, but everybody, yeah, it worked out okay. But there were maybe some complaining people that were like, "Geez, this is really dangerous." What?
Right.
I was worried. Yeah, I was worried on that one because that was actually quite dangerous. But again, I have insurance, but again, you don't want to use it. You don't
No,
want
you
to have to.
don't. You don't want to have to use it. So it's always a good thing to have it. But yeah, you have to have insurance for everybody, not just the actors. You have to have it for the entire cast,
The
and
whole
crew, the
crew,
whole
yeah.
kit and caboodle.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's anything can happen.
Anything can happen. I usually am lucky with production, like with production insurance as far as gear goes. That usually most of the DPs I work with have all their gear covered, all that kind of stuff. So I'm usually pretty lucky there, but liability insurance you have to have. You have to have. You have to
Yeah,
have it.
I agree. I definitely agree with you there. We have some Patreon questions. This one's coming from Regal Once or 13. She wants to say, for the 100 backers of this project and counting, she says that I see that you are adding perks to people who support your film, like cameos and pictures. I think that's a wonderful additive to give back to the TCM community. In regards to a fan of the film, such as yourself, bravo, sir.
Thank you.
She also wants to know, not many big name directors do these types of things. How does that make you feel, like creating these fan made films?
That's a good question, actually, because I've never really thought of that. I think every big name director is different, though. I mean, some of the big name directors will go out and do something more independent, small
Yes.
like this. I mean, I don't believe they'll ever do a fan film, but I know some of the bigger name directors have done smaller projects just more for the fun. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, I think a lot of the big name directors are usually under contract by the studio, and it's all about the money. And in the
Yep.
end, unfortunately, it is a business, and they're getting paid, and some of them are under contract to probably not do independent films. I imagine. I
Yeah.
could be wrong on that. Again, I'm not right in Hollywood, so I really don't know. I mean, I would love to see more. I would actually love to see more big name directors do smaller independent stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I bet there's a lot of reasons why they can't. Probably contractual obligations
Yeah.
through the studios that they work with. But not all of the big name directors are under contract. I know like Spielberg has gone and back and done some
Yes.
smaller stuff, and but he's to the point where he's been doing this for so long that he can do whatever the hell he wants. Some of these guys I think even Michael Bay has done the odd independent
Yeah.
type of film. I think I could be wrong on that, but
Yeah.
let me know in the chat if he has. But but some of these up and coming directors that are doing a lot of big budget films for Hollywood right now probably don't have that option. They probably under strict contract to do Marvel films or Star Wars films, or who knows,
Oh, yeah.
like J.J. Abrams, but even J.J. Abrams has his smaller company, Bad Robot or whatever, but
Yeah.
he's not directing them himself, but he's usually hiring other smaller directors to do them, but they still have something. they still have an outlet. But again, it would be nice to see more. It'd be great to see more of that. I don't think we do see enough big name directors doing independent stuff. So it would be nice to see.
I know.
I hope that answers your question, but was there another part to that question I may have missed?
No, that is actually good. You got that one. She did ask, where did you study to become a director? But I think you answered that like very in the beginning. You said you didn't go to any type of schooling. You were learning it.
No, I learned it from volunteering first, and just jumping in and getting advice while making my stuff. I did a few years ago do the master class with Werner Herzog master class. I preferred that one over some of the other ones because his style was more my style. So I mean, go by your style. I know that there was a Martin Scorsese one, and I think there was a one of the big screenwriters in Hollywood too. But I chose to go with the Werner Herzog one because I like his style a lot. And I could identify with it. So that's the extent of my my training, I guess you could say, just volunteering and taking the Werner Herzog masterclass and just studying, looking at little things that filmmakers do to be creative on low budgets. You know, I know like Robert Rodriguez made El Mariachi for $7,000, and a lot of people were like, how the hell do you make that movie for $7,000? Well, he did something on YouTube where he showed how he did a lot of these scenes for so cheap. And I thought, wow, that's super creative. That you know, that's how I want to be. I want to be able to think like that. You know, how do we get this shot for super cheap? And that it's a learning experience, that's for sure. When you see how he did that, it just makes you that much more creative. You start thinking outside the box.
Yeah, and now look at where he is now with Rodriguez, right?
Exactly.
I've seen some of his earlier films that were very low budget. He has a lot of good films. And it wasn't until later on down the road did he evolve to where he is now. So you just never know. Yeah,
you just never know. You just got to keep at her. Keep at her and just like look at things and say, geez, can we do this for how can we save money on this? You know. There are ways. There are always ways. Mm-hmm. It would be nice to have money, but like we probably at this point in our campaign, if we didn't raise another $1 in our Indiegogo, we'd probably be making the film for roughly $8,000 to $9,000 Canadian, and we could make it happen here in Canada. Probably not Texas, but here in Canada. But I have tremendous resources. You know, I've learned the industry here, and I have the connections here, but I don't have those in Texas. So I mean, I have to, just getting to Texas is going to cost a couple grand. You know, me getting to Texas with a couple of my actors is still going to be a couple of grand. So I mean, that alone, it's money out of the pocket, right? So
it's not cheap, and when I find when independent artists create films, you can really see the dedication, the blood, sweat, and tears that they throw into their films. Like it's very different from someone with $1 million budget to somebody who only has $5,000, $10,000 budget. You can see the love for not just for the industry itself, but for what they are creating. You can feel the passion in their films. Even though some of them are short, some of them are like 20-minute movies, others are an hour-and-a-half movies. But that's what I've noticed comparing it to somebody like New Line Cinema Films or Blumhouse. Mm-hmm. It's the passion that goes in from the directors and even the actors and actresses and crew that help out with the film. It's nice to see that.
I agree. My wife and I watch a lot of indie films together. Not all of them are great, mind you, but there was one or two on Amazon that I watched that were like, okay, you can it's indie and it shows, but but most of the indie films I watch, I'm like surprised, but this is actually quite good. You can just tell that everybody involved was 100% on board, and they made a great film, and I appreciate that. I really I love indie film. I love indie film.
I do too. Have you seen a film called Cherokee Creek?
Turkey Creek?
Yes.
No, I have not. Is it is it on Netflix or Amazon or
It's on Amazon. I found it's funny. It's like it's like 80s horror comedy, raunchy horror. That's how I can ball it up for you. Todd Jenkins and Billy Blair I had on my show last year, and they were the independent creators of Cherokee Creek.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
it's I found it hilarious. I've seen it 4 times. I own the Blu-ray. I loved it. I know a few of the people that I've showed it to. They friggin' love the film. It is independently made. And they also went into talking about how hard it is to get your videos out there as an independent, with especially people like Amazon and Tubi.tv and Shudder. They were going into, have you found any of that issues as you're going forward? Like with your previous ones, I know you said Unseen and The First Barbecue. Did you find any issues trying to get that out?
With Unseen, yes. First Annual Barbecue, I didn't really try very hard to do any kind of distribution on that because it's a fan film.
Right.
But Unseen, I think we did try to get it onto Amazon, as I recall, and it got rejected. I don't know if it would be rejected now though, because I heard Amazon is just taking a lot of stuff. I almost want to try to get it on Amazon again, just to see, because times have changed a little bit. But yeah, I mean, there was issues definitely back then. And I did put Unseen on, I think, one online platform, but again, it's pretty small though. I mean, it's not, these platforms don't, I think it was called Real House or something like that. I think it was Real House. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that or not.
No, I've never heard of them.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's why. That's why it is. I mean, I think I got like $20 in sales from it.
Wow.
Nothing spectacular. I didn't make the money back that we spent on it. That's for sure. Mind you, we didn't spend a lot of money on Unseen. But I think at the time, Unseen was, even though it won some awards. Again, I don't feel like the audio is quite up to par.
Right.
I feel like the story feels rushed, and again, a lot of people miss the story, so that could definitely be the case. Again, I'd like to try again and just see if we can get it up there. I do have another film that'll be coming out pretty soon, though. Another short film, hopefully my last short film.
Right.
I really want to focus on doing features because my writing style just suits feature films more than anything else. But with this next film, this final short film that I made, I think we got it where we wanted it pretty well. We actually made it for really cheap. I think we spent $300 on the whole production.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know, it was really I found ways to save money on that one really well. I'm actually quite proud of myself on my resources for that. But we'll see. I mean, once that one is done in post, I just have to mix the audio and add the score to, and then that'll be done. I think that one would definitely be able to get on Amazon. But again, I could be wrong. Try it and we'll see. I think the distribution is easier now than it was a few years ago, as far as Amazon and Netflix and all that kind of stuff. From what I've been hearing, anyways. Again, I haven't had a lot of experience though yet, so I'm just telling you what I've been hearing. That this online stuff, they're taking like everything now. They're like accepting pretty much everything.
There's lots of creative people out there that aren't being seen because they're not getting the big backing, like I said, with New Line Cinema or Blumhouse or any of those guys. And I know Shudder is really big at that, which AMC, I believe, owns Shudder. So I would definitely look into Shudder as well. Because they curate a lot of different films, independent films. They have podcasts up there. So it could be another venue for you. And yeah, Amazon has been bringing in a lot of independent horror films. I've been watching a few of them. There's actually one on there called Butchers that I want to check out.
I've heard of that one, yeah.
They have been bringing in independent films, so I would definitely check that route as well.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'm definitely game for that. I've just been so busy with this film, though, that I just haven't had a chance.
Being a filmmaker, you're a very busy person because you're usually
Oh
doing
yeah,
everything yourself because you don't have like assistants and secretaries to do all those things for you.
exactly. I'm not a rich man, so I mean, I don't have all those things. I wish one day if I win the lottery, then I'll spend lots of money on a movie and have
Yeah.
all the different assistants and stuff that I need.
Right?
But
Oh, I'm sending you that good juju.
yeah, send it to me. Send it to me. I need it. I need.
Yeah.
but but yeah, I mean, I'm even hearing that with I've heard a few people even say that you can get fan films on stuff like Shudder and Amazon. I don't know if that's true or not, but
It
I'll
doesn't
look
hurt to
into it.
try, right? It doesn't hurt to try. What's the
I
worst
know
they
I can't
say?
make any money off of it though. That's the only
No.
thing is I can't. It has to be a free option. It has
Yeah.
to be on there free, and I can't make any money off of it, and that's fine.
But it gets you out
But
there. It gets
oh,
your
yeah, it
name
gets it out
to
there.
a
That's the
worldwide
idea.
platform other than the internet because I know a lot of
Yeah.
people. I love Shudder and I'm always promoting Shudder and people around the world, well, most places can receive Shudder, so it just gets your name out on a bigger platform, which that is in itself is a great marketing tool. I
I
mean, you may
agree.
not make any money off of it obviously, but it's kind of free advertising, right? And
Yeah.
advertising we know is very expensive.
Exactly. It gets your name out there, and that's that's the biggest idea with the Sawyer Massacre is we want people to see this. We want all the Texas Chainsaw Massacre fans to see this film, so that they're gonna know who made it and what a great cast and crew made it.
Yeah,
And they're going to want to see more from that team. That's the idea.
definitely.
I want to build the team. I want to build a huge network of great hardworking artists that we can make some great films. Not just my films, because again, I want to make a feature for Unseen
Right.
and other screenplays I have that. But at the same time, I want to work with other independent filmmakers that want to get their work shown, and that's how I've always worked in the film industry, and that's how I usually get people to help me out for
Right.
free. Is that I'll help them out for free afterwards too.
One hand
If you
washes
work
the
on my
other.
film, I'll work on your film.
Yeah. Well, and it
And it's
helps.
worked out pretty good.
Well, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. Networking helps. I mean, there's
Oh,
lots of people
definitely.
in
Oh
the
yeah.
industry that don't have the money or the backing or sometimes even the know-how. So, helping one person out and maybe in return they help you out, so forth and so on. I think that's a
Yeah,
great thing to
exactly.
do.
It's
Definitely
definitely a
great.
great thing to do.
Your
It
short
brings
film,
people
go ahead.
together.
It does.
Sorry.
It does bring people together, and you never know what kind of future projects you could
Oh,
also be a part
exactly.
of.
Yep. And again, you might work with some people you don't want to work with again. That's happened to me before, and that's fine. It's good though because then
Right. Oh, yeah,
right?
exactly. You don't know until you try it.
Exactly. You have to work with some people you don't like in order to work with people you do like.
Yeah.
So you just got to be willing to work with everybody and say, okay, you make a film with somebody you didn't like and say, okay, well, I know not to work with that person again. So let's get some more people to work with and, meet some new people, keep networking. Not everybody's going to be, on your level or,
Yeah.
or on the same page as you. And that's fine. But you are going to meet those people that are. It could be 1 out of 10. It could be 5 out of 10, who knows? But, the people are out there, and you got to meet them. If you want to be an indie filmmaker, you got to be willing to meet the right people.
Oh, yes.
And I've never been hesitant on that. I'm not afraid to work with people I don't want to because I know I'm going to meet people that I do want to work with.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Because your networking pool then opens up, right?
Yeah.
You meet this person, they have these people, these connections. You just never know who you're going to run into.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your short film that you were talking about, your last short, does it have a name yet or an ETA when you're going to have it out there?
I wish I could give an ETA because it should be pretty simple for me to do it. It's just I just haven't had time. It's just mixing the audio will be the hardest thing for me to do. That could take me a few weeks. But scoring it won't be too hard. It's a 10-minute film. I'm pretty locked in on scoring music for my short films now. At least for shorts, if it's a feature, it's going to take me a lot longer. That's for sure. But for a 10-minute short, it shouldn't take me too long.
Yeah.
and I've already kind of composed it in my head already. I've watched the cut of it, so I mean, it'll be nothing to score it. It's just the audio mixing and mastering is going to take the longest, and it's just going to depend on when I actually have time to do it. I have to focus so hard on the Sawyer Massacre right now that I just don't have time to get into my DAW and mix that audio. But I know that the time will come, hopefully sooner than later. Hopefully I can get it done before I actually go to production on the Sawyer Massacre. I don't see any reason why not, unless I have some major issues with pre-production stuff. But I should be able to get it. And the title for that film is called Disorder.
Disorder. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, write that down. Look for this. There is a Facebook page for it. I've been neglecting the Facebook page for it. I hate to say, but there is a Facebook page for it. And that's all we've got as far as marketing so far. But you can see it on my IMDb list and stuff like that too. Yeah, it's basically a mental health kind of film. So is Unseen a little bit. This one definitely deals with mental health a lot more. I've known a lot of people with big mental health issues. I dated somebody who had some major mental health issues, and the ideas just kept sparking. I'm married to a pharmacist, so I get a feel for that kind of stuff all the time, so I think I like to explore it a little bit. I like to bring awareness to it wherever I can, and I think that's what this film does. So that's the most I really want to talk about it, because I don't want to spoil it.
No, we'll move on to another subject.
It's definitely a horror thriller, though. It's definitely stays in that horror genre, but I would say it's more of a thriller. More of a thriller, psychological twist ending.
Yeah.
Bit of a twist ending. I don't know if that's as far as I'll say.
Okay, interesting. Well, we're gonna keep an eye out on that, and don't worry, Blue. I did see your message. That's why I asked that question, an ETA or something. I will definitely keep you guys informed. I will keep my peepers peeled on their Facebook page, and I'll be in touch with Steve Merlo throughout the year anyway. So
that's awesome.
I'll be like, hello, is it up yet?
It's possible I could get it done within a few weeks after our Indiegogo campaign ends. It's possible. But again, I might be dealing with a location manager down in Texas as well.
Know.
That's,
exactly.
Stuff like that. There's a lot of things I have to have come together in pre-production. And if I'm dealing with a lot of that, then I could see that getting in the way. It shouldn't get in the way the whole time, though. It's just right now.
Right, but you're going to be busy. Lots of stuff going on.
Yeah.
No.
Stuff is happening.
Exactly.
There's always stuff happening. Pre-production is not an easy stage.
No.
Got to get all my props ready. Got to have all the locations signed and ready to go. And it's not easy. You have to make sure the cast is fully under contract. And so, who knows? We could end up replacing some of the cast if I have to do any recasting. We do have some understudies, but I don't feel like we have understudies for every role. So if you're an aspiring actor, feel free to email me your headshot, resume, all that kind of stuff, just because I want to be as prepared as I can.
Right.
I've had actors drop out on me in the past, and we didn't have understudies, so it was like a last minute scramble to cast a character.
Yeah.
So understudies, all you indie filmmakers out there, make sure you have understudies for your characters. It's
that's a good tidbit of
important.
advice there. I do know some actors who are actually in the United States. I have a friend that I follow on YouTube. He does Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He does you know him as well. Scrapper. He does.
Oh yes.
Right.
Yes.
He puts out a lot of his. He's a huge TCM fan, so he does a lot of cosplay and makes little short videos. And he's also looking to break out into, because he's an actor, but he's also looking to break out. He's been doing short indie stuff, and I'm thinking maybe one of these days I'll have him on the show as well.
That would be cool. He seems like a great guy. I actually chatted with him, and I've actually told him that he could be our Leatherface understudy if he wants to. He seems really game to do that. So in case our Leatherface I don't think our Leatherface is going to bow out, but mind you, if we shoot in Texas, our Leatherface is here in Canada. Just so you guys know,
Oh,
if he
nice.
can't, if he for whatever reason doesn't get his paperwork together, his passport, his visa, all that stuff to work in Texas, then that could be a different story. You never know. But he seems like he's going to have it all ready, from what I
Right.
can tell.
Yeah, well,
From
you
what I
never
can tell.
know. I mean, I know there was a time where Snoop Dogg tried to cross the border into Canada for a concert and they weren't letting him. Anything can happen, especially if
Anything.
your actors and actresses or majority are in Canada, right? Because they have to get passports. They have to be able to go over there to work. So you need a work visa. And I'm not really sure what goes into that when you're making a movie, what kind of permits you need, but you got to make sure that everyone's, criminal background check works out or they ain't getting into the United States.
Exactly. Well, we only have 2 actors from Canada that would be traveling to Texas. So just 2 that we actually have
That
to
you have to worry
consider.
about. Yes.
Do have to worry about them, though. We have to
Oh,
make
yeah.
sure that that's going to be possible.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll be recasting.
And that just would be a nightmare.
Yeah, but you got to do what you got to do sometimes. But, and
Very
again,
true.
I am accepting understudies. We do have a few, but I'd like more. I need.
Sure.
I definitely want understudies. Definitely males between 17 to 25. I can definitely say we need that age group a little bit because I believe that most of those actors are definitely going to do it, but I think there's at least one that we will probably end up replacing, from what I can tell, from what I'm hearing from him. So
Right.
I definitely need people auditioning for those roles.
Right on. Well, guys, right there in the chat, you see
you go.
there's links right there. There's the Facebook page. There's the Twitter. Actually, the Twitter is all over the place. I got to get your Twitter back in there.
Oh, really?
There is everything. Instagram is right there. The Facebook, the Indiegogo, the YouTube channel. So make sure if you are an independent actor or actress or somebody just trying to break out, make sure you go
Drop me a
give
message.
Steve
Just send me a DM. I respond to my DMs pretty quickly usually. So unless I'm in the middle of a podcast like this, but
Right.
but for the most part, I do answer my messages fairly quickly. So you can expect a response. But again, it depends on what we need. There's definitely a lot of characters we do have understudies for already, but like I said, that age group for males, even for females, just in case. But
Right.
I think we'll be okay with the female characters in that age range. It's mostly the males in that age range,
that you need.
17 to 25, in that area.
All
That's
right.
what we need.
That's
what
awesome.
I want understudies for. Again, I don't know for sure if a role will open up, but I think one of them will. Maybe even 2. You never know.
Yeah.
So you just never know. It could be your opportunity to be in our film. There are still other opportunities to be in our film through our Indiegogo campaign. Not many left, though. Just the opportunity to be Leatherface for an on-screen kill.
That's awesome.
I think that's the only one we actually have left at this point is for extra roles. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I backed your film. I seen it. I was like, oh yeah, I got to. Not only is it one of my favorite franchise, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it's a Canadian-made film, and I've got to support my fellow Canadians because our industry for filmmaking gets pushed down. It gets pushed down,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to bring awareness to fellow Canadians that are creating independent films, whether they're artists or writers and directors like yourself.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I'm glad you appreciate that. You are right. It's Canadian films do get pushed down
Yep.
quite a bit. Yet I still think there's been some great Canadian films made.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, definitely go support Canadian films.
Yeah, exactly. Support Canadian. David Cronenberg, who's Canadian, is one of my favorite godfathers of body horror. Right, he's done
him.
Videodrome, Rabbit in 1977. There's numerous
Scanners.
Scanners. Oh, that's a really good one as well. There's so
the
many
Fly,
great.
Right? He did the Fly remake.
Yes,
that
he
is.
did from 1980s with Jeff Goldblum. Yes, he did. There's a lot of great Canadian actors and people from Canada. Leslie Nielsen, John Candy, just to name a couple, right?
They're dead now, though. But
they are dead now, unfortunately.
there's living ones though too. There are living ones too.
Rick Moranis.
Rick Moranis. He's not doing anything, mind you. But
Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. There you
Yeah,
go. Michael J.
Deadpool.
Fox is
Michael J.
also not
Fox.
doing anything.
Yeah, no.
There's lots. There, Ryan Gosling,
Yes.
Canadian. Rachel McAdams,
Yeah.
Canadian.
There's
The Notebook.
the Soska sisters who remade Rabbit, who also created American Mary. They're from Vancouver. I mean,
There
they're
you
from
go.
British Columbia.
Yeah, that's where I'm from.
Yeah, that's
I'm a
where we're
Beast
from.
boy.
Vancouver Island is where we used to live before we moved to Alberta.
Oh, cool. Whereabouts in Alberta are you living?
We are, I believe it's called Central Alberta by Calgary.
Oh, okay. Okay. I used to live in Alberta a long time ago, Edmonton area.
Edmonton, okay, on the other side. We have a few Edmontonians in here, as well as Calgarians and a bunch of East Coasters, Ontario, and in the community. Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's awesome.
Yes, it's
Canadians rock. That's all I can,
we do.
I think there are so many great Canadian films. One of my favorite horror films of all time, Canadian, Black Christmas, the original Black Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, yes,
I know the director is American, but he always considered himself Canadian because he had lived in Canada for so long, I guess, but made so many films there. But yeah, Black Christmas was made in Toronto. And yeah, it's to me, it's actually my second favorite horror film after Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right. Oh, yeah,
really
TCM is great. And yes, no, a lot of films are made here in Canada. Look at Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Manhattan, right? That was filmed in Vancouver, Hastings area, I do believe, if my memory serves me correct. It was made to look like New York City, but it wasn't New York City, it was Vancouver.
There you go. Yeah, Vancouver gets a lot of films. Vancouver and Toronto get a lot of films. I'm close to Vancouver, but not close enough to Vancouver.
Yeah.
I'm about 5-hour drive from Vancouver where I am.
Well, that's not too bad. At least you don't have to take a ferry.
Yeah, at least, yeah, exactly.
I lived on Vancouver Island, and oh my God, just to get to the mainland, 2-hour ferry ride, it sucks.
Yeah, my mom lives on the island, so like visiting her can be a struggle sometimes, but we make it happen. We make it happen. She has to see her granddaughter, so we got to make the effort as much as we possibly can. But
Grandmas
yeah, that's very
need to see their grandbabies for sure. I am a grandmother of 3, so I miss my grandbabies. She's in Calgary herself, so yes, I miss my grandbabies.
Wow.
But yes, I am. Again, once out. My question, since you're a musician, are you doing the whole John Carpenter thing and creating your own scores?
Yes, I have created all my own scores thus far. I would be open to somebody else doing a score for me, but and in fact, I've connected with a few composers that are like, "Geez, I'll donate a bit of my music to your Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan film." And I said to them, "Well, just so you know, we're really going. This is what we're going for. And if it doesn't match what I'm going for, I won't use it because I know what I want from the music in this." But there was a couple of different composers that shared some music with me, and I was like, "Sure, you know what, man, I'll support you because for one thing, this is a feature-length film. This is a feature-length Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. It's going to be a lot of work for me to compose all the music for this. So I'm willing to let if people are willing to if composers are willing to donate their music just to get a credit in the film." Right. I'm definitely open to that because it is a lot of work. I did compose all the music for my one feature film that I've done, and I'm still not happy. It's a feature length film is tough to compose an entire thing for, but I can do it. But it's nice to have some help if I can.
Oh, for sure.
And if they're willing to work for free, but I also get DMs at least a couple times a month from music composers say, "Hey, you want to buy my services?" And it must be a really crowded space. I would think it must be a pretty crowded space. I'm lucky that I can do it because I just don't think we could afford to pay somebody else to do it. And I'm not a big fan of of all the online royalty-free music. Some of it's okay, but
some of it's okay. I agree.
Some of it will be great for other films, but for a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film, if you really want to capture that same type of feel of the original without actually just copy and pasting the original music, you got to have a certain ear for that.
Yeah.
And not many people do.
I don't know if you've heard of White Bat Audio. White Bat Audio, he creates amazing music. He's on YouTube. He creates amazing music, and some of his music is actually free. And in the horror genre, he has actually my Coffee Chat of Horrors intro for my podcast and for my normal Coffee Chat of Horrors show. I have music that's from him. I utilize that for free by putting his he has a license and all that he gives you on certain songs, and you just put it into your YouTube, your description saying, music by White Bat Audio, and I always tag them and I put his song in there. He also creates, I've had a couple of songs created by him, and they're not overly expensive, and he does an amazing job. And check him out. Maybe something that he has in his freebie section, or he has a lot of free stuff, and all he really asks for is credit.
That's cool. Yeah,
if
he's got something free, again, just Texas Chainsaw Massacre is so different than other horror films.
It definitely is. It has a specific sound.
It's something I have to be very, very picky on the music for. So again, I'll look through it for sure. Send me the link after done. I definitely want to check it out. And again, I get a lot of composers, and their music is great. I'd love to be able to say, hey, I can. Right. I'll pay you to do it, but it just doesn't make sense for the low budget film to pay somebody to do it when I can do it myself. So and I really know what I want. I really know what I want from the score, and I've been a professional musician for years and have composed lots of types of music over the years, and it's my first profession. So it just it just doesn't make sense to pay somebody to do it. But I mean, if there are a few artists out there that are passionate about Texas Chainsaw Massacre and they want to create something that fits with the tone, like a couple have reached out and they just want credit, I am definitely game for that. But again, it has to work with has to work with the feel of the film. So, like I said, a couple have met that mark, but it'd be nice to have a few more, or
it
not.
Doesn't hurt, right? Okay. And you never know what other projects are going to be in store.
Exactly. Yeah.
A lot of people think, oh well, just giving credit, that's not nothing, but it really is, especially in the small indie world. It's not technically that small, where people say, hey, by the way, I know this guy who creates this type of music. I think it'd be great for your film, and there's passing on your name. There's something in a job that you potentially would not have received if you didn't become part of something else, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I always see that as a good thing as well.
Oh yeah, I always want to support my fellow musicians wherever I can. That's for sure. But it has to work with the film. At the end of the day, it has to work with the film that we're making. And again, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is actually harder than I think a lot of people realize it is. You think it's going to be any of those musicians out there that want to be super complicated and super melodic? It's probably not going to be right for a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. You got to really simplify and use more percussive sounds and really experiment with different sounds rather than melodies and stuff like that. That's the real tough part about composing Texas Chainsaw Massacre type of music. And that's where I really kind of dialed that in for our second teaser, actually, that we did. The first one was kind of there, but I don't feel like I quite dialed it in enough. But our second teaser, I really kind of got the feel that I feel is necessary for Texas Chainsaw Massacre without copying what the original movie did,
Right.
Because that's the idea. I don't want to be copying what the Hooper Bell score, but I want to make sure it has that same feel.
Right. Yeah.
Important to me.
Well, yeah, you want that feel because it's going to give that nostalgia of watching the TCM, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Besides Texas Chainsaw Massacre, is there any other horror film that gave you, that inspired you? And this question is from Regal as well. She wanted to know if there was anything other than TCM that inspired you for your horror films.
Definitely. I mean, I just mentioned Black Christmas. That was a movie that I didn't see until I was in my early 30s. So I was surprised I had never seen this movie. it was just shocked that it was that good. In my opinion, of course, not everybody likes Black Christmas. To some, it's too slow to burn or whatever. But for me, I was absolutely shocked that I had never seen that movie, and it gets better and better on every watch, because you start to kind of understand the character of Billy a little bit more. The more you actually pick up on some of the phone calls and what he's actually saying. Realizing it's not all just gibberish, which a lot of people think, just automatically assume it is, but it's not. So that was definitely one. That and Halloween were the two big inspirations for Unseen. Those two films particularly. Halloween more for the music rather than the actual story. But again, that mood and atmosphere thing, just getting the right atmosphere that builds the suspense. That was important to me with Unseen. And same with Disorder, too. It's meant to kind of have that same kind of mood and atmosphere that those films have. So, yeah, I mean, Black Christmas, huge inspiration. As far as the Sawyer Massacre goes, Obviously, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a massive inspiration, but also there are elements of the remake that I'm not a huge fan of the remake for the most part, but there are certain things in the remake that I absolutely love, and then there's other things in the remake that I absolutely hate. It's really polarizing, that movie. To me, it is. I know a lot of people, and it certainly has its fan base. The remake.
Oh yes, yes it does.
It has a huge fan base. In fact, a lot of people like it more than the original. And hey, that's cool. I don't, but I want to like it a lot. But there's just certain things in that film that really bring it down for me. Unfortunately, which is and that's really where my ideas came from, is because I thought these certain things really brought it down. But what if they did this? And that's how it all kind of sparked for me with doing this fan film, was thinking about what I would have done. Right. And it just eventually it finally got to a screenplay that I was satisfied with. But so I would say there still are some elements to the remake, but also I would say if there's another inspiration I have for the Sawyer Massacre, it's the Blair Witch Project, which is another polarizing film for a lot of people. It seems like people either love it or they hate it. Yeah. I personally love it. I personally love the Blair Witch Project, even though I'm not typically into found footage or supernatural type of films. Right. I'm typically not into anything supernatural. But this movie definitely has those elements. But I feel like the reason why the Blair Witch Project works so well for me is, once again, it goes hand in hand with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It feels like it's really happening. Yes. Again, has that documentary feel. The acting is realistic. These people aren't acting. They're actually, it's like they're playing themselves. They're being themselves, and they are genuinely terrified by what's going on. And the case with both Chainsaw and the Blair Witch Project is that I believe the directors actually totally scared them in a lot of areas. Yes. They had no idea what was really going to happen, nope. And then when it happened, so their fright was real, and that's something that I really appreciate. I really appreciate it. I probably don't know. I probably couldn't really do that with my film, with the actors, especially not the way that Texas Chainsaw Massacre did, because, poor Sally went through some.
I know.
She went through a lot. All the actors went through a lot. I mean, but it wouldn't be allowed on today's film sets. So, but man, did it capture some great stuff.
Blair Witch did some great things, and you're right.
I agree.
The director, there's lots of scenes in Blair Witch that the actors and actresses had no idea about. They actually had to find their way to the next campsite. That's right. Blair Witch did break some boundaries back then for found footage films. I'm not a huge fan of Blair Witch, but I enjoyed it, and I like what the directors and the actors did with that film. So I do give it kudos on that for sure.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, it is one of those films that people either love or hate, it seems. But
Right.
I just happen to love it. I saw it in theaters, and I saw it with a bunch of friends of mine. We had just graduated high school, and I think about half of my buddies hated it, and half of my buddies loved it. I was amongst the buddies that loved it, and it is weird that way. I think I just love the subtleties of it. You know, there's so many subtle bits of acting and stuff like that you get from the performances of the characters. And like, wow, that's so realistic. And I really believe them. I really believe that everything was happening. And that house at the end, that was actually the house at the end of the Blair Witch Project was the biggest inspiration for the house that we want in our film. Just that creepy vibe, maybe not quite as abandoned looking as that one, but somewhat close. So I mean, there's a lot of inspiration there that I took from Blair Witch Project as well for our film.
Yeah, no, I liked Blair Witch, certain aspects of the film. I was really disappointed to find out that it wasn't real. I did see Blair Witch in the movie theater myself. And I was so hyped up on it because I was like, this is real, you know, I love true crime. I like true stories. Yeah. And then the day of, I found out that because I seen it opening night, and then the day of opening night, I'm like, I find out that it's not real. That totally like downed it for me.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's why, eh?
That was one of the reasons why.
It was great marketing though. They were marketing it as a true thing. I never believed it was real, but while watching it, that's the thing. While watching it, I started to actually kind of think maybe this is real.
Yeah.
You know, even though I knew it wasn't, but you can't help but think this actually looks like it actually is real. Like even early in the film when they're interviewing the random people. All those people don't look. Not a single one of them looks like an actor.
No,
I guess some of them actually weren't even. But
no, they weren't.
You know, but you would think, because you would think they must have been given some sort of script to be able to talk about the Blair Witch like they do.
A little bit. They were given small pieces of the script. He actually kept the majority of it from them. And the only reason why I know so much about Blair Witch is I do a show, as you're on right now, is Coffee Chat of Horrors. And when we don't have guests on, we dissect movies and TV shows. And I did a lot of research on Blair Witch. But yeah, they didn't have the full script. I think only 30 pages of the script they actually had. They went around and printed out real missing flyers and put it around the town that they were filming in. So they tried to hype it. Brilliant marketing. And they went to like CCoH or something like that, made a whole bunch of photocopies, put them up around the town, and created this atmosphere. They even created the online persona of the Blair Witch, which didn't even exist. But they made an online persona. They made the city and the town a part of that. And the town was also in on a lot of the filming in Blair Witch as well.
Yeah, so there you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's really they pulled off something great there, and you know I know the film. I think most people don't like that you don't see anything in the Blair Witch Project, which that's what I like about it is you don't see, let your imagination.
Well, that didn't bother me. That wasn't one of the things that bothered me. Some of it, the camera movements really affected me.
Yeah, that's another thing that bothered people.
Yeah. A lot of people get motion sickness. My husband gets motion sickness. He can't even watch me video game. So Blair Witch would make him super ill. But it's definitely
understandable.
A good film. Yeah, decent film.
It doesn't bother me, mind you, but you know, it's everybody's different. I guess I don't get affected that way from those visuals like that. But yeah. That's weird. That's weird that I don't. It doesn't bother me, but
it didn't bother a lot of people that I know. I know. The few things that I didn't care for, like I said, what really got my hopes down was the fact that they were alive and well. That sounds horrible, but I was so hyped up when that film came out, and I was probably about 16 years old when that film came out. So, I was just, getting into my prime with horror films, and I'm used to films like Cannibal Holocaust, which is another found footage film that is pretty aggressive. where Blair Witch isn't as aggressive, but
Definitely not as aggressive. Yeah.
no. Mickey is not here anymore. He had to go, but Mickey Finn wanted to know how would you explain getting over scary movies for someone, a fear of scary movies for somebody?
The fear of getting depends on how scary it is, I guess. Boy, that's a tough question.
It is a tough question. Mickey asks me all the time this question, and so he wanted to ask you the question just to see what your thoughts are. How do you overcome being scared of a scary film, and how do you ease yourself into it?
You know, I'm mostly scared of a scary film like the first couple times watching a particular film. And I guess the way I get over it is just keep watching it until until I can really see that it's a movie. And I don't know, it's funny, but still to this day, Texas Chainsaw Massacre still scares me, because even though I know it's a movie, but there are times when I'm watching it and I get to the point where it just doesn't feel like it's a movie anymore. It feels like I'm watching something real. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe the best way to do it is actually to become an indie filmmaker like myself and actually see how these movies are made. And maybe that's how I've done it. I don't know, because even though Texas Chainsaw Massacre still scares me to this day, and boy, it gave me nightmares as a kid.
Yeah.
That I still think about. But I think actually doing it myself kind of takes that fear away a little bit. That's I don't know. That's probably the best answer I can give, or just keep watching those movies and they will seem less scary. Like, here's a good example. When I was 8 years old, I saw Jaws for the first time. And Jaws, for the most part, doesn't scare me, but the one scene that always scared me in Jaws was the guy's head popping out of the boat, Ben Gardner's head popping out of the boat underwater there. That always freaked me out when I was a kid. And still to this day, I think it's the best jump scare ever in a horror film.
Yep.
In a film, because I know Jaws is horror to some people and not to other people, but yeah, the best jump scare. For the longest time, I couldn't watch that scene because the first time I saw it, I'd seen it and it just came, and I had no choice but to see it. I didn't know it was coming. And I was watching it with my two brothers, and they were hiding under the blankets and everything, and I wasn't. I was like, I'm going to see this.
Right.
But after that, I couldn't watch it. I couldn't watch that scene. It was the weirdest thing. I was the only one of us three boys to actually watch it live, and I was like, oh, it's just a head that popped out of the boat there. But after that, I couldn't watch it. And I eased myself into it by eventually I was like, okay, I'll try to ease myself in by hiding behind the wall and kind of like peeking through the door while that scene came in. And I don't know, eventually that I was able to get to the point where that scene didn't bother me anymore. Yet it does still get me, though. I mean, it's still even though I know it's coming. I think the way it was edited and the sound effect, the sound that's in there, the way the score comes in there.
Yes.
It's very, very powerful.
Very eerie, very creepy.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that's how I did it. I mean, that's how I did that scene. That's, again, hopefully I'm not giving you too long of answers, but I want to be as thorough as I can.
For sure.
But yeah, ease yourself into it, just take baby steps.
Jaws is one of my nemesis movies. It's a movie that scares the shit out of me because I have a legitimate fear of open water. And I've seen Jaws, and Jaws didn't help. I did see Jaws at a very young age when I probably shouldn't have. But my fear of that film, I still, as an adult, it gives me severe anxiety. I forced myself to watch it every now and again to push myself out of that comfort zone, right? I've been always trying to overcome my fear of water slowly but surely throughout my life, and I still can't go into the ocean or bays or anything, and I still can't watch Jaws without almost going into full panic mode.
Hey, it has different effect on people than, again, and I think at the time when I was 8, it did. I had that same sort of, I don't want to go into the water now. and I lived nowhere near an ocean. I've always
Yeah.
kind of lived. I think at that time I was actually living. We moved to Edmonton. That was when I
Landlocked?
moved to Edmonton, and there was, even just being at the West Edmonton Mall water park there, I would get a little bit of anxiety. Is the shark in here? Is the shark in the pool? Which is obviously not even close to being possible, but you'd still get that, So,
Yep.
yeah, I mean that's it's a powerful film. It's definitely a powerful film that way.
Oh yeah. And the shark that they used, giant huge shark. Yeah, no thank you. Miss Machiavelli doesn't like Bruce either. Bruce is the shark in Jaws.
Bruce the shark, yeah.
Yeah. I still don't watch many horror films that have anything to do with water, like Meg, 47 Meters Down. I haven't seen any of those.
Oh, I haven't seen any of them. I saw 47 Meters Down, and actually I didn't mind that one.
I've heard it was decent.
It's funny. It's a lot of people hate it. They say it's really, and there is one thing in it that's really kind of bad, and that's the fact that they're talking underwater when their ears are not covered by, So I mean, there's a little bit that's pretty. You kind of wish that they would have fixed that, but that they would have at least thought of that, but they didn't. And oops, sorry, my mic just fell there.
Oh no, it's all right.
But if you can look past little mistakes like that,
exactly.
The movie itself is actually quite intense and quite. There's a part in there where she's like lost in the ocean, and it's like, where do I go? Do I even go? Do I even know where to go? Is the shark just gonna come out of nowhere? And I thought that part was really, 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 really well executed, and probably the first time I'd seen a shark movie in a long time that I actually got that kind of spooked out vibe from that. That was well done. It was a black ocean. It's like, where do you go?
Yeah.
Am I going the right way back to the cage? Who knows? Because the ocean is so vast, and
I'd have a heart attack. There's no friggin' way.
Yeah. No. So I liked 47 Meters Down. I liked the ending of it too. A lot of people didn't like the ending. I actually did like the ending. Maybe it was a little bit predictable, but I've seen more predictable. That's for sure. I've seen a lot more predictable endings than that.
Yeah.
But I still get surprised when people complain over little technical things like, the fact that their ears aren't covered, yet they're still talking to each other underwater.
Right.
I get it, but at the same time, you should be able to see past mistakes like that. You should be able to see past it and just take it for what it is, and nothing's perfect, and the story is there. If the story is there, I can look past stuff like that. Me personally.
Yeah. Oh, if it's I can overlook the small little things. A majority of the horror films have very inconsistent stuff in them as well. I mean, if you grew up on 80s horror, even 70s horror, you can. There's lots of things that are that don't make actual sense. Half the storyline doesn't make actual sense. So
yeah.
I think that's just a given in horror films. You get the horror movie logic, right?
Exactly.
That's always in the films.
Yeah. It happens.
It definitely does. Faceless Melancholy wanted to know if you could talk to any deceased horror movie icon, who would it be?
Ooh, right off the top of my head, Gunnar Hansen, the original Leatherface. Yes. Because I've heard what an awesome guy he really was. I've heard that from a number of people that have met him. But he was just a fantastic, fantastic human being. And again, he was Leatherface. I'd just love to get his insights on filming that movie. Even though I've seen pretty much every documentary, I've seen pretty much every interview he's had. But he seemed like he was a great guy. Definitely not the crazy man he was in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but
right.
But definitely, probably that's definitely off the top of my head. If I had to think about it more, wonder if there's somebody else that would in the horror, and we're talking in the horror industry, right? Just strictly horror.
I believe so. I believe that's what Faceless. Are you still in here? But I believe it was all in the horror. Any
Just
horror.
all.
Oh, well,
So
actually,
any deceased horror icon, boy, there's so
is
many
there
now,
any
though.
outside of the horror industry that you would like to meet or would have loved to have a conversation with, not just in the horror industry, but
ReAnimateHer.
Just in anyone in the film industry, period.
yeah.
Oh boy, there's so many that have been deceased. Marlon Brando. Like I said, I was a big Godfather fan, so I'd love to pick his brain on doing that film. I know he never felt satisfied with his performance in that movie, even though he won the Oscar and everything. But I guess he felt like, geez, he couldn't speak any Italian and all that kind of stuff. He just didn't feel like he had nailed it like it should have been in the book. But I mean, I still love it. He speaks maybe 2 words of Italian in that entire movie, and yet he pulls it off for me. I believe he's Italian in that movie. I do believe and I am half Italian, so. Mind you, I don't speak any other than some Italian songs that my grandmother taught me. But so he's probably another one. Boy, deep questions. I always have to think about a lot of these ones.
I know. We asked some of the hard ones.
Yeah, definitely hard ones. Yeah. Just I don't know. Those are probably the 2 I would probably I can think of the most in film. Gunnar Hansen and Marlon Brando, that are deceased. Those are probably the 2 that I could identify with the most.
Yeah,
I would like to think of some filmmakers that I would, but some deceased filmmakers. But I mean, Alfred Hitchcock would be a huge one.
Who wouldn't want to meet him or have a chit chat with him?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He would, because he had a very unique style of filmmaking. And people have actually told me that my filmmaking style is very like his, which is odd because I was never hugely inspired by his films, not even Psycho. I've seen them all, but I never felt like I was hugely inspired by them. But I think that a lot of the films that I am inspired from the 70s, like Halloween and Black Christmas, I think those ones were kind of inspired by Hitchcock. So I'm inspired by films that were inspired by Hitchcock.
Right.
So if that makes sense, so it's still there. The Hitchcockian essence is still very there. So that's we'll leave it at that. I don't want to. If I thought on it more, I could probably think of a lot. But that's good enough. That's off the top of my head, anyways. We'll say those 3.
That's awesome. Well, they're great people to want to talk to.
Definitely.
And we have a question from Slasher Saw. Any chance we might see the doc at the Fantasia Film Festival this year?
The what at the Fantasia?
Doc? Slasher, are you still in here? I just copied the way they typed it in chat. So any chances we might see the doc? I'm not sure if he's talking about the documentary or the doc at the Fantasia Film Festival this year.
I don't have any documentary, unless we're talking about the Sawyer Massacre, which like the original has a bit of a documentary feel to it. I hope that's what you're talking about. The Sawyer Massacre.
It might be. Will we see it at the Fantasia Film Festival?
It's possible. You never know. Again, we haven't filmed it yet. I'm solely focused on the present and the near future,
right.
Which is just getting it to the point where we can actually get it filmed for a decent budget. Hopefully, getting it produced in Texas, and production date is not going to be at least till mid-September. So even if we get production wrapped by the end of September or early October, post-production is going to be at least 6 to 8 months, maybe even up to a year. It could be as long as a year. And that's if we had a really, really smooth production, and there isn't a lot of stuff to cut out of the film, or you never know, right? If there's not a lot of fat to trim. I think my
Right.
fellow Canadian Dave McRae used that for his fan film, fat, and they apparently didn't have a lot of fat to trim on their film. So if there isn't, then it could be faster. But I mean, it's post-production will be at bare minimum 6 months. So maybe it would be out by, say, spring of 2022. I doubt that, though. I think that this will take longer than that.
Yeah. Well, especially with current events in the world, right? So we've got the pandemic, we have the differences between our borders and where you want to film. So there's lots of stuff in between that can make it go longer. And I know same happened with Vincent DeSanti. A few of them are happening, due to COVID. With Slash and Cast has their film coming out.
That's right.
The Fall of Camp Blood. So there a lot of people are feeling the effects of current world events that are going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think our backers are pretty understanding of that.
Yeah, I think so.
I've put on our Indiegogo campaign, as far as when it comes to our perks, that estimated delivery time, whether they're being shipped or not, is all August of 2022. It could be earlier than that. It could be later than that. I mean, I think the Blu-rays, that's the earliest possible.
Right.
Any of the Blu-rays, DVDs, or VHS, that would be the earliest possible. I'm pretty sure it'll be later than that, though, on those, because those are the last perks that you're gonna send out, because you have to have the movie done.
Yeah.
You have to. I also have to be able to have all the special features and stuff like that. Have to have it in both the regular and as well as subtitles. At least for the DVD and Blu-ray, not the VHS, mind you, but DVD and Blu-ray, we have to have subtitles. So those are going to take longer. We'll have the movie released probably at least a couple months before we can actually send out the Blu-rays. So, I mean, but I think our backers are pretty understanding about that, knowing the world we live in. And I've even heard people that know Vincent DeSanti. I don't know him personally. I don't have him on Facebook or anything, but I'm friends of friends with him. And they have said that, they're having trouble getting the Blu-ray out for Never Hike in the Snow. And that's understandable.
It is. And
I hope people know that it could take a while for them to get their Blu-ray out for Never Hike in the Snow, because of the way everything is. But hey, at least they got their movie out. Their movie is on YouTube. But I know those Blu-ray people that buy Blu-rays, they're not going to watch it online first. They're not going to watch it on YouTube first. They're waiting on their Blu-rays.
Yes, and that is very true. I'm one of the backers for Never Hike in the Snow, and I'm still waiting for my Blu-ray. I also have a Blu-ray that I'm going to be giving away for a giveaway, but since I don't have it, I can't do the giveaway for it yet. But I understand what goes in behind the scenes. Like, it's not easy, especially when you're doing everything yourself. He's another independent filmmaker, right? So he's doing everything himself. He controls his Indiegogo. He doesn't have a secretary. He doesn't have, an assistant sitting there doing all of these. He packs all the perks himself, gets the T-shirts done,
it's
all
a lot
of
of
that
work.
stuff.
Cool.
Some people don't realize that there's a lot of work behind the scenes after the movie is done, and you've cut it and all of that stuff. That all that work is done. But now it's getting it on Blu-rays and DVDs and getting all the merch and getting everything to work together and on a timely manner with other businesses, because you're not creating the DVD yourself. You have to give that to another company to create that for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you have to wait on them.
And sometimes you don't get the connections of companies that can do it for cheap enough, and all. It's a lot of work. It's you have to make the connections. I wasn't going to even add a VHS to our campaign until I came into contact with Skynet Video, who I found on Instagram, and they said they can do it for like $2 or $3 a VHS. I was like, wow, really that cheap?
That's
Plus
nice.
shipping, of course, but still, it's that's super cheap, and it's coming with a sleeve and stuff. And we haven't sold a lot of VHSs, though. I was hoping we would sell more VHS, and I guess not enough big collectors. We're not reaching enough of the big collectors at this point, but But the Blu-ray is selling like crazy. I mean, people want Blu-rays, I guess, and that's all good. Me, I'm actually not really much of a physical copy kind of guy. I always opt for the digital downloads of films. Any projects I've backed, I always end up doing the digital download. I know I've just never been much of a physical matter kind of guy. If I can download it digitally, I'll do that.
No, I feel you. I like physical media.
Most people do. I'm actually in the minority there, I think.
And I like it just because if everything went digital and in the cloud, movies would go missing. Movies that aren't technically following the narrative would go missing. You'd have films that are like Cannibal Holocaust. That would definitely go missing if we lost all of our physical media and everything was in the cloud. Cannibal Holocaust pissed off and still pisses off a lot of people to this day. That would be gone, and we would never be able to watch it again unless you have somehow downloaded a copy that's not connected to the cloud. That's right. That's why I'm still a very big fan of buying things physical media. I mean, as you can tell from my background and collection.
Oh yeah.
If they make it, I will buy it. Especially if it's in the horror field.
There you go. Like me, I don't even have any horror on my back other than a fan Leatherface a fan of mine. Sent that to me. I was like really excited that he sent that to me. So that was pretty cool. I'd never received fan mail before, and now all of a sudden I'm getting all kinds of cool fan mail. So
that's great.
I still want more hate mail though. I want the hate mail from people. I'm getting trolls on my YouTube channel now, but it's nothing really interesting. It's I want the trolls to actually say something really hateful to me and tell me how little I know about Texas Chainsaw Massacre and how dumb I am or whatever, but I just get the same kind of comments, troller comments that I'm a scammer of some kind, and that's all I get.
There's a reason why they're trolls. They can't come up with anything intelligent, and if they can't come up with anything intelligent, they usually attack what you look like, attack your gender, or just come up with some crap that they pull out of their ass. So,
hey, I wish they would comment on what I look like and the way I talk or something like that. I wish I would get that kind of thing more. I'd love to be able to do a hate mail show someday where I read all my hate mail. But I mean, I can't really read hate mail when I get just a little bit of something of, hey, you're a scammer, you know that? That's all I really get from these trolls. I'm like, how do you know I'm a scammer? How could you even know that at this point?
They don't, and that's why I'm saying it's unintelligent, crap that they spew. Put on a wig and become a female in the horror industry. Let me tell you, I have people who attack me on a regular basis because I'm a woman who says she knows things about horror, and they come out of the woodgroves to test my knowledge because I'm a woman, only because I am female. So I get a lot of hate mail. I get a lot of hate mail. Some of them are inventive. I have a thing on my YouTube channel that automatically snatches them. It's called TubeBuddy. It's a program that I have that attaches to my YouTube account, and it hides all harassing or anything that they think is harassing, and it hides it for me to approve it. It keeps away a lot of the spammy stuff, a lot of the people who call me names, and it hides it, and I can just delete it and keep it away from that. So the people who do go to my YouTube channel won't see those comments until I approve those comments.
I see. I don't know if it's the same thing, but when I hit 1,000 subscribers, YouTube asked me if I wanted this option to approve comments on my live stream.
I have that as well.
Okay, so I've been using that, but it'll ask me to approve anything that has the word "kill" in it, or if there's a swear word, but a lot of them are my regular chatters that it just happen to have use swear words when they comment, or I hope they don't kill off Laurie Strode in the new Halloween Kills movie or something, so I have to approve all those comments. And yet the spammy ones, the trolls that just say scammer, I don't get to that choice of approving them. It's weird that way. I wish it would let me. It's not quite perfect, that's for sure, but that's okay. You know what? I almost want to see if I can just take that feature off and let everybody's comments be there, trolls or not. I'll let the
Yeah.
trolls have their comments. It doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get some trolls. I call them dingleberries. I don't call them trolls because trolls are usually funny and they usually have something intelligent somewhat to say. I get dingleberries on my live stream here on Twitch, and I get them over on YouTube when I go live over there. Even get them on my pre-recorded stuff. I have them on Twitter, Instagram.
Oh yeah.
You should see my friggin' inbox.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I'll bet.
So much fun. Regal also wanted to ask a question. She says, have you met any famous actors or actresses that are currently alive?
That are currently alive. I feel like I have, but now I'm probably forgetting. I mean, we like from the original Chainsaw. I met John Dugan, who played Grandpa.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's considered famous or not, but I mean, he's
That's
in a
awesome.
famous movie, but he was so made up in the original that you never saw his face or nothing. And that's all he's really known for.
Yes.
He has done some acting roles, so here and there, but I was lucky enough to meet him virtually over video chat because he did a voiceover for our teaser. And a lot of people I don't think realize that I've been trying to get the word out that he's actually in our teaser. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
You didn't? Okay.
And no, yeah, that was something I did not know. And the funny thing is that you bring up John is I'm wanting to contact him to be a part of Coffee Chat of Horrors. Well, one day I'll hopefully be able to contact him for that. I want to watch the trailer for your movie, the first one. We're going to show that now. The first one is the Sawyer Massacre trailer that came out in 2020, August of 2020. Is that the first one?
Okay, that would be the first one. Yeah, August 31st, 2020. So listen for a voiceover from John Dugan. He's in there. His voiceover, both of them. It's just a small little voiceover, but it's there, and it's actually pretty interesting when you think about it. I won't spoil anything, but if you can pick it out, you might understand. Just here's a little hint, though. Our film takes place before the original by about 7 or 8 years.
Oh, that's good to know.
So that might give you an idea on what his voiceover actually might be. It might. It might not.
All right, we're going to get into that. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to cover mine and Steve's face up with a full size of the trailer. You can catch this on their YouTube channel. If you do exclamation point guest in the chat, you'll be able to get all their social media. Reegs also has Steve's Twitter and everything else that you guys can post out there if you want to check it out. Now you're saying is 7. How long is this before the first one?
Mid 60s, so about 7 or 8 years.
Okay, so about 7 to 8 years before the original TCM came out. So here we go. We're gonna watch it. Let me know if you guys can hear it. Is it not gonna be big enough? There we go. Make sure that's up there.
The following film is an account of a tragedy that transpired in an isolated property. For all who experienced it, an ordinary day became a nightmare.
What is it, Jimmy?
Something bad happened.
We've had a setback. The last one didn't make it.
Hey, I ain't scared.
We just need one strong one.
I'll have none of what's going on down there.
So where do we go?
You'll have to go down to the farm.
Are you sure this is the right place?
He said it's his grandpa's house.
I'm pretty sure no one lives there.
This is one account of many, and those who survived wished they hadn't.
Come on, Jimmy, we can make it.
It's really bad.
I think we should just run.
He's gonna get him. Rex, what the hell are you doing?
Crazy.
We're all crazy. Everybody.
The Sawyer Massacre.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
That is awesome. I loved it. I seen the trailer a little bit back when I was when I contacted you. I was going through everything and watching it. I'm like, this is going to be so awesome. That was the reason why I contributed. One of the reasons why I contributed to your Indiegogo is I saw this. I'm a huge fan of TCM. I'm a huge fan of cannibals. Anybody who knows me and knows that I love cannibals. And so when I seen this, I was like, oh, this is awesome. You guys can check this Indiegogo out. If you have some spare coinage and you want to throw some money at Steve and the cast of the Sawyer Massacre, you can do that right now. Do !guest and it'll pop up their Indiegogo. We also have a second trailer for you guys to watch as well.
The newer one. We got footage from Texas in this one.
Nice. That's awesome. I'm going back to grab that. When creating this trailer, the very first trailer, what challenges did you find in creating it? Or was there any challenges at all?
Oh, there were challenges. Again, dealing with the elements a little bit. It was late September when we filmed that in Canada, and trying to make that feel like midsummer of Texas was a little bit difficult. It was a little bit cold. We were consistently adding fake sweat to the characters, which hardly really showed most of the time. So that was definitely a challenge that we had. And then just shooting everything that we wanted to shoot in one day. We shot everything you see in that trailer in one day. That's really, really difficult. We had 4 locations with an hour-and-a-half drive between the furthest one to the nearest one, sort of thing. It was definitely very, very ambitious, but we made it work. And I'm pretty proud of that trailer for the most part. There's a few things trailer. I wish were better, but
I enjoyed it. Reaping Blade, seen it, and was like, I need to see this movie. So the Reaping Blade.
There you go. It did its job, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You got people in the chat that are like, I need to see this movie now. And
that's
so
awesome.
Again, if you guys want, the Indiegogo is in the chat link there. You can also do !guest. Check it out. How much longer is your Indiegogo going?
I think another 20 days. So there's still lots of time.
Oh, yeah.
Still lots of opportunities to be a big part of this film. We have most of our producer perks are still available. The majority of them anyways. So that's a big part. And there's even the opportunity to be Leatherface for a kill in the film. I think we still have 2 of those available. All the other extra perks went, mind you, but the voiceover, we just added a voiceover perk the other day, and it went like that.
Oh, wow. Well, that's great. People like being involved, and if they can somehow get more involved besides backing, they will. I found that out just being a backer myself is I look at the perks. I'm like, ooh, and then I sit there and I'm like, well, what can I do? And then I toss up. I'm like, oh my God, I really want to do this one, but I don't got the money for that one, and I want to do this one. So I usually have to do eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and then pick the perk.
I know, it's funny, eh? But every perk other than the $2 perk at least gets your name in the film, in the credits.
Yeah.
So yeah, just keep that in mind. No matter what you're part of this film, for as little as $5 Canadian, I think it's $4 American.
Yes.
Is what it's listed as. But again, I can only see the Canadian prices, so I have to take people's words for it on that. But But yeah, so I mean that's pretty cheap to get your name in our film.
Oh, for sure.
And they range all the way up to the really expensive ones too. So depending on how much money you got, if you want to be an executive producer, I think it's around $850 American, or an associate producer is a lot cheaper than that. It's about $3 something American. Yeah, I think. I could be wrong on that. Again, I only see the Canadian prices.
Yeah, so. I only see the Canadian prices as well. And our Canadian money is definitely not on par with the U.S. So if you're in the United States, you're getting it cheaper.
Yeah, exactly.
When it comes down to it. We're going to go watch your second trailer. So we're going to get that one rolling here as well.
Is this really the place? Come on, Jimmy, it'll be fun. Something's off here.
Bob, stay out of there!
Hey, everybody.
And that is the second trailer. And that's your newest trailer.
That's our newest trailer. About half of the footage was actually shot in Texas for that.
Nice.
They all volunteered their time. They did a great job. Was very, very happy with what we were able to do. And the funny thing about that too, the footage we shot in Texas, we had booked a certain date for everybody to come. Like some people were even driving from Louisiana to get to Austin. So this date was set in stone. We were shooting that date, and that's all there was to it. The night before, Michael Vincent Barry, who is also our COVID compliance officer, as well as playing the character of Rex, he messages me and says, just so you know, we've got forecast for snow tomorrow for the first time in Texas in about 20 years.
Of course.
I'm like, you are absolutely kidding me. We had so much exterior stuff to shoot, and we ended up having to be creative and shoot everything indoors and change the shot list on the fly. And everybody came together and like, how about we try this and how about we try that? And we still came up with some great stuff, unplanned stuff, and it was a lot of stuff came together last second, and some of them proved to be great shots. So again, I really appreciate what they did. It definitely solidified for me that I knew that I had the right team in Texas that I'm working with. The fact that they all came together so well for this teaser to make sure that we had good footage for a great little teaser, and definitely made the most. There are a couple of exterior Texas shots that were shot by our DP after the fact, but they're just scenic shots. So there's just a couple of the opening shot there that you see the focus pull of the wide Texas landscape. That was shot after the fact when there happened to be no snow. Just so we have at least some of that Texas landscape, but most of the exterior stuff was in Canada. All the house that we filmed at was here in Canada. Yeah, so
nice. Well, you couldn't tell it was Canada.
There you go. Well, we hid the mountains more in that teaser than we did in the first teaser. In the first trailer, you could see the mountainous areas with that house a lot more than you can in that one, in the new one.
Yeah.
So that's probably why it works.
Well, that, and I think the visuals that you have in the first trailer, I didn't really notice the mountains. So I think my eyeballs were more intense on what was happening in there, and then just listening to the sounds of the camera, which is very TCM.
Yeah, exactly. Very TCM, that camera sound.
Oh, yes. Monkey wants to know what steps did you take to translate ideas to film scripts with stories, like fleshing out the story and character? What ideas did you...
For the Sawyer Massacre particularly, or for anything? I'll just keep it simple and talk about the Sawyer Massacre, because that one had the most depth to how I did it. I mean, I started out again after watching the remake back in 2003 in the theaters and feeling like there were some major missed opportunities, just coming up with ideas on what I would think would make it more disturbing, and they were just ideas. I wrote them down on paper. I think I even wrote a bit of a short story form that was, it needed work. But eventually I got to writing it as a script. It was a pretty rough script. We made First Annual Barbecue from that rough script. But again, it was still pretty rough. I was a pretty new screenwriter at that time. And I'd shelved it for a bit. I didn't think I was going to ever go back to it. But sure enough, I met some people in the industry that thought that the idea was there. There was a good enough idea if we could flesh it out a little bit better and get to the point where it was a whole new script, basically. So when I came back to rewriting the script, apart from consulting people, one of the things I did was actually read the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre script to kind of understand some of the characters a little bit. That would be some of the characters that do appear in our film. get a better perspective on where they were in the original and where I think they would be 7 or 8 years before that film. So that's definitely one of the things I did, because I didn't want to feel like I was writing the characters exactly like they were in the original. I wasn't going to have the hitchhiker be exactly the same as he was in the original, but you could definitely see, or the cook, right? You know, because those all the Sawyer members appear in our film, and again, Grandpa was kind of the main one that I was looking at. So I don't know if you picked up his voiceover in John Dugan's voiceover in our teaser, but I started thinking, I'm like, I bet Grandpa probably still had a voice about 7 or 8 years before.
I think so.
Probably not much of a voice, but he could, you know. So I began to think, you know, I didn't want to make it an origin story, but
right.
I thought if there was a way I could get some perspective about, you know, what this family has gone through, Grandpa would be the most interesting one to hear it from, because he's seen it all. So rather than utilize characters like Drayton Sawyer and the Hitchhiker, I thought, boy, it'd be really interesting to hear from Grandpa, a character we knew about in the original, didn't hear from at all. Thought he was dead for the first half that you see him on. Thought he was just a corpse until oh my God, he's sucking her finger. And
Yep.
And the thing is, I knew you can't ever recreate that version of Grandpa, because it'll never have the same impact. So you got to have a different take on him. So you get a voiceover of John for the first time, actually performing dialogue as Grandpa, and just that little 4-word voiceover in our teaser says a lot without saying a lot. And again, I really think that that's important, and not everybody's going to pick up on exactly what the message is there, but if you do, I hope it would make you want to watch the movie just that much more, because there's a lot of depth to it. Again, subtle. I want to keep it subtle, though. I knew I had to keep things subtle, because if I just lay everything out on the table, like the cannibalism element of the original started out pretty subtle. It started, you know, you didn't kind of pick up on it until, and maybe you didn't pick up on it until Sally's in that gas station and she's looking at the meat, you know, after being chased by Leatherface, she's looking at the barbecue cooking, and it's like nothing is being said, but you're like mentally being, you know, thinking, is this human meat? Are these people cannibals? And the reaction of her facial reactions in that scene particularly sell it. Again, nothing said, but it's like, ooh, are these cannibals? You know, these people cannibals? You know, it's I love it. I think that's great. And obviously the finger sucking scene kind of solidified that. But it was never said in the entire film, though, that we're cannibals and we eat people, and this is why we eat. You know, you had to kind of make those connections on your own. And I think that's what I want to do with my film, but I've added a different layer that wasn't really explored in the original. It wasn't explored at all in the original. That I think if I want to do it subtly, though. I don't want to just lay it all on the table for everybody to know that this is what this is. But if you get it, you're going to think, wow, that's super disturbing. And that's the important element. I think you need something disturbing. To me, it was okay in the remake that they didn't focus on cannibalism. But I was wanting something else to make this family disturbing. I was wanting something more than what we got. It just seemed like they were rebelling against society in the remake. And I think it didn't hit the mark for me. I wanted something that was going to make me say, whoa. You know, I didn't get that whoa factor, like this is what's going on here, you know. And I think I got that with our script anyway. So how we execute it is going to be very important, though, too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Serial Killer wants to know, where in Canada did you film the trailer?
Good question. I live in the Okanagan area of BC, southern interior. We filmed pretty much here, but we also filmed in the Shuswap area. I don't know if you'll know where that is.
I know where that is.
We again, there was an hour and a half drive, so
yeah.
So we filmed in between Kamloops and Vernon for the most part, and then some areas closer to Vernon. But yeah, that house that we filmed at is in a little town called Westwold, and that's in between Kamloops and Vernon.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was sort of the main area that we filmed at.
Oh, that's great. Reaping Blade also wants to know were there any scenes while filming which made you or any of the cast feel uneasy?
Definitely, yeah, feeling uneasy. Definitely the last thing we filmed, where Leatherface is kind of groping the character of Allison, and the young actress we have playing Allison, she's turning 18 in just a few days. So back then she was still 16.
Yes.
And he's kind of groping her, and we're trying to get it was a bit uneasy because, you know, she's young, and I had to explain exactly what was happening in this scene. And again, it's another scene where there's more happening than you'd probably realize on screen.
Yeah.
So we had to make sure that it was comfortable for both of them. But when we got to actually filming it, it was like, holy crap, we got it. But setting it up, it was tough because they had to be quite bloody, and both of them had to be quite bloody, and I just want to make sure that the context of the scene was okay with both the young actress and her mother, and you know, so that we just had to make sure it was we didn't go too far with it, which I didn't want to go too far with it anyways, because I don't want to give away exactly what the context is in that scene. Yeah.
Well, I think that would make anyone feel uneasy, regardless of age, anyways. I know in Hollywood you have young ones under the age of 12. I mean, look at Linda Blair in The Exorcist. She was 12 years old, and you've seen some of the scenes in that film, right? So there's definitely uncomfortability somewhere. Actually in anywhere that you would see in a Hollywood film.
Yeah,
and I think age really at any age, a groping scene of any scene like that would be uncomfortable for anybody.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I totally
necessary in order to make a point, right? It's not like this is actually happening, but you have to make that point. But also, it also makes the audience feel uneasy, which is a good thing too, because it gives you that uneasy, like creepy vibe, and it just adds to the intensity of the film. That's just my opinion. That's what I think.
I totally agree with that. And we were lucky enough to get good performances. I think we got that was the one thing we filmed where everybody, after we had filmed it, was like, oh my God, we got great performances here. Because a lot of scenes that we did shoot for that first trailer, I know you guys like it, but I was never quite satisfied with some of the performances we got, and we shot, but you know, we shot it all in one day, and then we can only get it so good when we're on a time schedule. But that particular one, we felt like we nailed within a couple of takes, which is important to me when you can do that, when you can't nail it. But there was one scene that we shot in the first trailer that I went and reshot for our second teaser, because I couldn't get the actress to deliver the line the way I wanted it, and that was the line of the character of Lorraine that says, "He's going to kill us."
Yes.
In my head, I kept seeing it a certain way, and I just couldn't get the actress to deliver it the way I wanted her to. Whereas when I cast that role in Texas when we were casting Texas actors, I was auditioning the female roles with that particular scene when I sent them sides. And when Alicia Jade sent in her audition, I just knew I had the right person, because she nailed it without any direction, pretty much.
Oh, nice.
And so I was like, well, if she's going to be able to do it that well without direction, how well is she going to do it with direction? and my direction was over video chat. So I mean, it's it was still not the best direction, So I was so much more happy with the way she was able to perform that one little line.
Right.
But I when you're picky about something, you have to get it. It's just one of those things.
For sure.
Plus, I was never satisfied with the lighting we had in the first teaser, in the first trailer. I just wasn't quite satisfied with the lighting.
Yeah.
Whereas we got the lighting right for the
second
wanted
one?
more darkness, but the face lit, so it really appears like she's in a dark closet hiding.
Oh yeah, no, I really like the trailers. The Reaping Blade has 2 more questions.
Sure.
They want to know if anybody that's in the original Sawyer family in TCM is in your film, and also wanted to know, what did you use for blood? It looks realistic.
Oh, thanks. I've gotten good at making blood over the years. As far as the Sawyer clan goes, all of the Sawyer clan that was in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre does have at least some sort of appearance in our film. Some bigger than others. But every member is at least in there. The one exception we might, depending on budget, is Grandma, who is a corpse. Grandma doesn't really have a part in our film, but we want to at least have her in the background if we can afford to make a corpse that looks like that. But again, it depends on budget.
Yeah.
So that's the only one that you might not see. But whether you count Grandma or not, it's, but all the living ones are definitely in the film to some capacity.
Right on.
And as far as now to the blood, I make the blood with corn syrup, red food coloring. Actually, I use a little bit of orange food coloring to just sort of get the color just right as well. And chocolate syrup, and just dilute it with a bit of water just to get the texture just right for blood. That's all I do.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit to get the consistency right, but once you've dialed that in, it's not too hard to do.
Yeah,
so
right
that's
on.
what I do.
Chocolate syrup has been a staple in horror films going back until the 1930s, and even beforehand. They always used to use Roscoe chocolate syrup, Bosco chocolate syrup, or whatever it was. But then they started getting into color because chocolate syrup gave the right color consistency in black and white films. So slowly, when they started becoming colored films, they had to utilize something other than just chocolate syrup. But that's
sense.
Very interesting. Horror Freak wants to know if you could ask Tobe Hooper anything, what would you ask him?
Ooh, if I could ask Tobe Hooper anything, what could I ask him? That's a deep question. There's so many things I would want to ask him. Boy. I would probably ask him what was the most satisfying thing about filming the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like filming it, getting it made. What he thought was the most, because I mean, the movie was kind of a fluke at the end of the day. It really was a fluke of all the right people getting together, and I don't even know if Tobe would say it himself, but it wouldn't have, if they didn't have the right people together, it wouldn't have been as good a movie as it was. So I would probably want to ask him, what was the most satisfying thing for him about filming it. There's so many questions I would
I know there's so many
Tobe
questions, and not just one. And then to be put on the spot, it's like, okay, I got to focus everything on my question.
Because it was a tough shoot. We know that filming it was hell. But I imagine that there were times when they filmed it where they probably thought, wow, we got gold. I want to know what he thought was gold.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's a good one. Serial wants to know, are you going to introduce a baby Sawyer? I would love to see a scene of a baby being spoon-fed bloody porridge.
Well, that's an interesting question as well. My little daughter has a cameo. She was 2 at the time she recorded. She's almost 4 now, but when she recorded her cameo, she was just 2. At the very end of the first trailer, there is a baby screaming that you can hear. That's all I can really say. I can't tell you whether it's baby Sawyer. I can't tell you whether there's even anything on screen with a baby, because I don't want to spoil the film. There could be something big in the film. But I can say that my 4-year-old daughter has done a voiceover. You can hear it in the first trailer. At the very, very end, it's the last thing you hear. Let your mind wander, run wild a little bit and come up with theories. I love to hear theories on that. Why do we have a baby screaming? But whether it's a baby Sawyer or not, can't confirm. Can't confirm or disconfirm. Otherwise, I could end up spoiling something, and I don't want to spoil anything.
Oh, for sure. No, you don't. No, you don't. We all want to see it in the film.
Yeah.
I know we're getting towards the end of our show here because I've had you on for like 2.5 hours, which you're my
first guest. Has it been that long already?
It has, believe it or not. But you're my first guest who wanted to be on for like the whole time. So that's
really?
Yeah, I usually get them on for about an hour, 2 hours tops. But yeah, no, I was excited that you wanted to be here the whole time. I'm like, yeah. So with our ending questions, I always like to ask all of our guests, if you, which is your favorite monster film? Like if you have one monster film, which is your favorite monster?
It's close between Dracula and Frankenstein. Look, we count those as monsters. I take it.
I would take them as monsters. I love Frankenstein's monster. He is my favorite.
The old school.
Yes.
The old
Boris Karloff. Yes, Bela Lugosi. Mm-hmm.
But there's something about Dracula when certain aspects like of the Bram Stoker's Dracula. But I'm even getting into the that new Netflix Castlevania series. Yes. I like the depth to Dracula in those movies. In that series, and the whole love story aspect of Dracula. One of my favorite heavy metal songs, if you're into metal, is the song Dracula by Iced Earth. That really dives into the whole Bram Stoker's Dracula aspect, and the whole religion being his reason for his wrath, basically, and what the religious people did. I really like those types of layers to Dracula. So I might say Dracula for that reason, but I mean there have been lame versions of Dracula too.
Sure.
That, obviously he was based on Vlad the Impaler.
Mm-hmm. And there's lots of lore on that as well, because technically Vlad isn't the first vampire, and it goes back to Greek mythology with an Italian adventurer named Ambrosio. But yeah, there's so much vampire lore.
Yeah, there's a lot of depth there.
Yeah.
Another interpretation was Vigo the Carpathian from Ghostbusters 2.
Yes.
Was another interpretation of Dracula, kind of.
Oh yeah,
which I like. I'd love to see an entire Vigo the Carpathian movie. I think they should do a Ghostbusters spin-off of I don't know. I think that would be fascinating. I don't know why. I think that would be fascinating.
No, it would be a good offshoot of Ghostbusters. I agree. I would want to know more about Vigo. Since we're on the note of vampires, werewolf or vampire, if you had to choose one, which one would you be?
Which one would I be?
Yeah, vampire or werewolf?
I would choose vampire. I feel like if I'm a vampire, I have more control over myself. Whereas with werewolf, you literally become a different creature, and
on a full moon that you can't control. Full moon comes, werewolf.
Yeah,
for sure.
But with a vampire, you're forever a vampire, and you're accepting that.
That's true.
But I think I would rather that than I think I would rather that than werewolf. Just a personal preference.
Yeah, I like werewolf because I still like to go out during the day. I like my meat. I think if I was a vampire and you stuck by the vampire lore, you'd only be drinking blood. So I would miss steaks and all that fun stuff. As a werewolf, I'd be able to eat meat all the time, human, and just go off to the restaurant and have myself a nice, delicious burger.
Since you put it that way, I can't argue with that for sure.
Vampires are awesome though as well because you get stealth. I mean, werewolf gets stealth itself as well, but you can turn yourself into a bat depending on the vampire lore that you're following, right?
That's true. Yeah, there's so many different lore, right?
Oh,
yeah.
For sure. And Regal has a question for you. Marvel or DC?
I'll be honest, I'm not a comic book kind of guy, but if I'm going by the movies I've liked the most in history, I'm a massive 89 Batman fan.
Nice.
I love 89 Batman. I did like The Dark Knight to a point, and I love the old Superman stuff, so I'd probably have to go DC just for that. Even though the recent DC movies that I have seen, which isn't much, by the way, it's just a few, have been super disappointed in. So, but ultimately, I love the '89 Batman so much that that I would probably have to pick DC just because of that, just for that film alone.
Yeah.
Even though there have been more recent Marvel movies that I've enjoyed more than DC movies. Yeah, right. I mean, just. Batman Batman was always kind of my thing as a kid, the only comic book that ever sparked anything in me. So, yeah, I'd have to say that it's a nostalgia thing more than anything else. I know that a lot of people love Heath Ledger's Joker. I love Jack Nicholson's Joker.
I love Jack Nicholson's Joker as well.
Totally different Joker, but than Heath Ledger's. But I just love it. I absolutely love it. There's more. It is just the right amount of comedic elements, comedic and insane.
Yeah.
To me, that it's blended perfectly. Whereas I felt like Heath Ledger was great, but it was just more insanity and not as much of the comedic elements that I wanted.
I agree.
But I still like it though. I do like it, just not as much as Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, and I like Jack Nicholson as an actor.
Oh yeah.
My most controversial question: Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers, who would win?
Who would win? I don't.
Who would win?
Who I like more? Michael Myers, but I like to refer to Michael Myers as the Shape or the Boogeyman.
Yeah, because he's known for the Shape.
That's what he originally was.
Yep.
Was
Boogeyman, the Shape. Yeah.
Fun fact: some people don't even realize that the name Michael Myers was never uttered in the entire first film of Halloween. Never even the full name Michael Myers was never mentioned. So that's why I like the Shape. Who would win though? I mean, your guess is as good as mine.
I believe Jason would win, but this is, like I said, this is my most controversial question that I ask all of everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on which version of Michael Myers we're really looking at here. Are we looking at the original version where he wasn't really a superhuman, or he wasn't really fully supernatural? He was human with the supernatural element to him. Then Jason Voorhees would win.
I would say, how about Jason Voorhees Part 2 versus Michael Myers Part 1.
Whew. Boy, these are tough questions.
I know. These are hard questions, but I think that, Michael starting out in his killing spree would be perfect time to go up against a Part 2 Jason.
Probably. I think Michael could take Jason in that one for sure. Yeah, I might pick Michael in that one. I probably pick Michael in that one. But
yeah. It's always hard to tell.
That's the version of Jason I like the most. Sackhead Jason. I think.
Yes, that's my favorite.
And it's underrated in my opinion. I think that was I know the hockey mask is iconic, but at the same time, I feel something's creepier about the Sackhead version.
Well, Part 2 is where we first see Jason come on the scene as the killer, right? He doesn't get his mask until Part 3, which is stories already known about him. So Part 2 is my most favorite Jason for sure.
That's awesome. At least I'm not alone in that one.
No, and Friday the 13th is my favorite franchise. Like, my favorite slasher franchise is Friday the 13th.
Oh, okay, cool. It's a lot of people's favorite franchise. It never quite grasped me like it has most people. I think for me, my favorite franchise is actually Halloween, even though some of the later ones are quite stinkers in my opinion.
Yeah.
To me, the first 4 Halloweens are all so great that there's just there's no amount of bad Halloween films could take away. I can't see another franchise where I like 4 films in the franchise as much as I like the first 4 Halloween films.
Yeah. Now, when you say the first 4, are you talking about Season of the Witch #3 or cutting out Season of the Witch? I love Season of the Witch. It's a great
Another
film.
Controversial thing. I love Season of the Witch.
Same. I love it.
It's my second favorite one after the original, in fact.
Yeah.
But I love Halloween 2 and I love Halloween 4 as well. It's almost a toss-up between those two, which one would get the third spot. But
right,
because there's so many things I love about Halloween 2 that I don't love about Halloween 4, but then there's other things I really love about Halloween 4 that I don't like about Halloween 2. But yeah, Season of the Witch is finally getting a name for itself a little bit.
It is. It is.
There's still the haters out there, and I'm sure we got some haters even in the chat today. I mean, it's inevitable.
Yes.
And that's okay. I'm not telling you guys to like it. I hope you understand why people do like it, though. And that's because it's a Halloween movie. It's not a Michael Myers movie, but it is very, very Halloween. And that's one thing I feel like later on in the series, these movies became less and less about Halloween, and they just became too much about Michael Myers. We got too much Michael Myers and not enough Halloween. Whereas Halloween is such a focus in that third film.
Yes, it is. I really like the third film, Season of the Witch. I thought it was an amazing film, and I agree with Stereo where Halloween 1 and 2, it's the same movie. So not the same movie, but meaning that it's just one storyline. If you were to cut out the credits, right, and watch #1 and #2 right back to back, it's one full story.
It is, yeah. I think there's certain execution things that could have been better in Halloween 2, though, to make them more seamless. But like the beginning of Halloween 2 bugs me. The beginning, just Dr. Loomis going out and seeing the imprint of Michael Myers on the lawn just feels so out of place from the original. Because that wasn't even there. He already knew that he was gone. While he looked down on the balcony, it feels out of place to me. That part just really feels out of, like, it doesn't fit. I almost wish there is a bit of an execution thing there that bugs me for sure. But yeah, it is one full story. It's just it does work, and I actually really like that they took it to the hospital setting. I think a lot of those scenes in that hospital work really, really, really well. But I wish the ending was a little bit better. I wish the beginning was a little bit better. You know, that's where like the end of Halloween 4 is one of the best endings. And Halloween 3 and Halloween 4 have the 2 best endings in my opinion. Halloween 1 is great too, but those 2 have the best endings in the series in my opinion. Again, just my opinion. Unfortunately, Halloween 4 was followed by Halloween 5. Where that's all I'll say about that.
Yep. For those of you that are just joining us, this is Steve Merlo, writer, director, also a musician of the upcoming film, The Sawyer Massacre, which you can make sure you can check out over on Indiegogo. Here is all of Steve Merlo's contact information. He's also looking for stand-in actors and understudies. So if you are an aspiring actor or actress, make sure you hit him up because he's always looking for people. And all of the information is right there. The Twitter you can get, the Instagram, Facebook, Indiegogo, and YouTube. Make sure you guys follow them on everything. Is there anything that you'd like to tell us, Steve, before we go? Any shout-outs that you'd like to do for people that you were working with or in the industry? Go for it.
Shout out to all the cast and crew of the Sawyer Massacre, all the people I've been working with on the Indiegogo campaign, Jimmy Presley, Rob Mahoney, Vanessa, you've been great as well. If you're watching, Jamie Weissman, that's just my Indiegogo team. They've done really well for me promoting so that I'm not doing it all myself. Right. So thank you guys. And just thank you to all the people that have backed the campaign thus far, whether you've backed or just shared it. I really, really appreciate it. I can't believe between 2 campaigns we have over 200 backers. It's never expected this, being new to the whole crowdfunding thing. And other than doing a crowdfunder like way back and not knowing anything and having a crowdfunding campaign that raised $100 versus crowdfunders that have now raised like over $5,000. So it's I really appreciate you, the fans, getting behind this project. It lets me know that we are on the right track to something here, and I really look forward to making an awesome film for all you guys that have supported the film.
Awesome. Yeah, no, and thank you. Thank you so very much for coming on to the show. I was very excited. Twitter has brought us together. That's where I found out about the Sawyer Massacre, and I'm so glad Twitter has brought us together, and very, very thankful that you came onto the show to talk to us about your experiences, where you started and what you like. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we hit those goals so you guys can film this in Texas. Like that would
be nice.
That's definitely awesome.
Well, keep sharing and keep doing everything you can. It's the audience is there. I know that the fans are out there that want this made, but it'll get made in Canada or Texas, but preferably Texas. Let's hit that Texas goal. If we can hit that goal, we're definitely shooting in Texas. We're a third of the way there. I could possibly see doing one more Indiegogo campaign. We'll see. These are a bit draining on me, I have to admit. But I do love it, but at the same time, it's a lot of work, and I do need to start focusing on pre-production and all that. But we'll see. We'll see how close we get if we don't hit our goal, and we could possibly do a shorter Indiegogo just to make sure we top up our production budget. Yeah, that's always possible. Yeah.
Not a problem. I mean, I will constantly be putting out the information. We love independent films here. So once a month, we watch independent films live on stream, and we give credit to the people of that film. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I think I'm a big supporter of independent films. I think they're great. They're needed. The fans love them more. I think fans love them more than the actual films from theaters. Just because you can see the amount of love and dedication that it takes in creating a fan-made film. You guys were also fans of the original films, and that shows as you create the content.
Very true, very true. Yeah, I can't agree with you more. You really do see the passion in independent films, and gotta support those creators. I've become friends with so many independent film creators, other fan film creators, and it's so great having known those people now and seeing how passionate they are about the properties that they're doing, even if it's not something that I'm particularly a big fan of. I love seeing that passion from independent creators. Means a lot for sure.
Yeah.
So thanks again for having me on. It's been a wonderful
thank you for coming on and sharing your experiences. I really do appreciate it.
I love telling. I hope you guys weren't bored to death with me chatting about all the stuff I've done.
Not at all. I find it interesting, and so does the Horde. They're awesome. They enjoy interviews. If I can have interviews on here all the time, I think that would be a benefit. But it's always hard with everyone's schedules, and we have a couple of upcoming ones. But again, if you guys want to check out the Sawyer Massacre, the Indiegogo, the Twitter, everything is right there. You can also check it out on my Twitter. They're on Instagram, Facebook. They're everywhere. So if you want to keep an eye on that, also keep an eye on the Disorder Facebook page. Disorder.
That's right.
On the Facebook page.
Could be coming soon.
Yes, we're going to keep an eye on that. Thank you again very much for being here. I appreciate it.
Well, pleasure's all mine. I really enjoyed this.
I'm glad you had fun. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
You too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.